All right. Good evening, everybody. How we doing tonight? Come on. Hey, I said good evening, everybody. How we doing tonight? Come on. All right. We're going to go ahead and get this little shindig kicked off here. We're going to worship. For those of you who are still getting food, take your time, get your food, get settled in. But we're going to get this party started off right with a little bit of worship. All right? Is that all right with everybody? Amen. Can we get that done? All right. Y'all feel free to stand. Worship with me, however you want to do. You want to dance up and down the aisles or, around one of these tables. You do what you got to do to reach God, all right? Amen. Let's go ahead. I thought I knew what I was talking about when I testified of your great love. I was a soul on fire, there was no doubt. Bible believing, saved and washed in the blood. But it was until I stumbled and made my mistake that I could know in my soul how amazing was grace. You brought me blessings out of a tragedy. You turned my old song into a symphony. And with your spirit living inside of me, I'm a new creation, I'm a new creation. And now I know what you were talking about. Went from my head into my heart. When I was broken at the bottom, I found you're my healer and redeemer, Jesus. That's who you are. You brought me blessings out of a tragedy. You turned my old song into a symphony. And with your spirit living inside of me, I'm a new creation. I'm a new creation. Come on, y'all sing. Oh, 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 oh. But it wasn't until I stumbled and made my mistakes that I could know in my soul how amazing was grace. You brought me blessings out of a tragedy. You turned my old song into a symphony. And with your spirit living inside of me, I'm a new creation, I'm a new creation. You brought me blessings out of a tragedy. You turned my old song into a symphony. And with your spirit living inside of me, I'm a new creation, I'm a new creation. Oh, oh. And with your spirit living inside of me, I'm a new creation, I'm a new creation. Hey! Amen. Keep it going for God just for a second, man. How many of you in this room are just so thankful? So thankful, just as full of a spirit of gratitude. Because the words that we just sang in that song, being a new creation, that is what his love is all about. Amen? Go ahead, go to the next one. I remember when a long lost sinner met a good God. And I remember when my heart was broken, but now it's not. 'Cause I've tasted and I've seen you've been so good to me. Know a moment that you changed my life, God, you never stop. Now I'm gonna sing it, I'm gonna shout it, I'm gonna lift my hands and praise. No matter what is gonna come my way, all you've done for me, I give you the glory. From the valley to the victory, I know my God is gonna fight for me. So when the devil come try to get me, we're gonna what? Y'all know this. So when the devil come try to get me, gonna. There we go. From the moment when the sun starts rising till the sun goes down, I'm surrounded by a million mercies and I can feel them now. 'Cause I've tasted and I've seen you've been so good to me. Got a melody inside my heart, oh, here's a sweet, sweet sound. I'm gonna sing it, I'm gonna shout it, I'm gonna lift my hands and praise. No matter what is gonna come my way, all you've done for me, I give you the glory. From the valley to the victory, I know my God is gonna fight for me. But when the devil come try to get me, gonna praise the Lord. When the devil come try to get me, gonna praise the Lord. In every high, in every low, my hope is found in Christ alone. And no, here on earth, when I get home, my hope is found in Christ alone. So I'm gonna sing it. Come on, clap with me. Hey, yeah, I'm gonna sing it, and we're gonna praise the Lord. I'm gonna sing it, I'm gonna shout it, I'm gonna lift my hands and praise. No matter what is gonna come my way, all you've done for me, I give you the glory. From the valley to the victory, I know my God is gonna fight for me. But when the devil come try to get me, we're gonna say, when the devil come try to get me, we're gonna. Hey, and when the devil come try to get me, gonna. Yeah, when the devil come try to get me, we gonna. Yeah, amen. Amen. Oh, man. Should be.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello and welcome. Hey, it's good to see everybody. Welcome to First Baptist Church. There's a little echo in here. Can y'all hear me? What is it? Yeah, it's strange, right? Is it just me? I need some help. Help. Is it me? Yeah, it's a little bit. Is that better? Still like a reverb, right? That's it? Better? Still an echo. I'm trying to do this for y'all, because if you're new to coming up here and speaking, it sounds good until you get up here. And then the life gets sapped from you. And you're like, where do I start? I got to rely on God. No, so welcome to the Alumni Overflow Speaker Jam at First Baptist Church. If you're home, you don't see the room. This is something we prayed for years, and God's been working on through us, and this thing is acting crazy. So there's treatment providers in the back of the room in the atmosphere of recovery, and if you're in the rooms of recovery, you might say, hey, that's blasphemy. But we support AA and NA and 12-Step Fellowship, but we are not them, so we are able to share what facility we went through, and we're here for the newcomer. So you'll hear directly from the mouths of people that have been in treatment and that support recovery and live in recovery, and the people that provide treatment here supporting recovery. Can I get a hand clap for that? Because there are some people outside of this room that try to create division, but our job is to unify, right? Three sides of the triangle. Our job as people in active recovery is to see past differences, look at similarities, and help the newcomer at any cost, right? So The people in this room serve in treatment, right? And the people that provide treatment allow us in to serve. And we're so grateful for the institutions of treatment. I can't say that enough. If you're at home and you're listening and you get desperate and you have to send someone somewhere, some people go right into the rooms of recovery and get clean, amen? Some people never have to go to treatment. But in the room, raise your hand if you've been to treatment. Booyah, 99%, right? So it's a vital role. We all play a role in this thing, right? But the end goal is what? Is it to stay on treatment or is it to be in? And everyone would say that provides treatment. But the people that are sitting in the back of the room with the tables, the people that we talked to that couldn't make it here, and the testimonies themselves are going to tell you that if you support something, you're there in presence, right? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking because you guys have heard me talk before, but I'm going to get the night going, and woo, I'm excited. I don't know about y'all. I'm excited to hear about people's journey and what they're doing today in recovery, and I don't even have to hear about it. I see it. It's a demonstration, right? So this first brother, actually, he went to community collaboration. Oh, before I start, I wanted to thank First Baptist Church of Delaware. Give it up for First Baptist Church of Delaware. If you do not know where First Baptist is, it's right next to William Penn. If you're from Delaware, you know where that's at. And First Baptist Church has done everything in their power to open the doors to the sick like Jesus did, to open the doors for recovery. They just now have a Celebrate Recovery, and it's on what night, Julie? Tuesday night, Celebrate Recovery. What time? 7 o'clock, right here. And if you need to find out more information, it'll be listed on the Celebrate Recovery website. It's a Christ Center 12-step group. They support Firm Foundation. We just had our Seeds of Recovery event here, and they actually sow into Firm Foundation, who gets no grants. It's more of a ministry, so we don't get grant money. We're totally self-sustained through the community and the body of Christ. So once again, give it up for First Baptist Church supporting recovery. I wanted to read an event tomorrow because we have Salvation Army in the house. So Salvation Army has an event tomorrow. It says, you are invited from our family to yours. Come catch the Holy Spirit music, preaching, food, and fellowship. We are family. Saturday, July 20th, friends and family. Sunday, 10 a.m. Tomorrow, the Salvation Army Wilmington Worship Center, 401 North Shipley Street, Wilmington, Delaware. And the flyers on your table are out by the thing. Support Salvation Army, long-term, Christ-centered resource in Delaware and Wilmington. We love the Salvation Army, okay? So this brother that I'm going to introduce, and if you get tapped on the shoulder to introduce somebody, just become suddenly willing. This first brother I'm going to introduce actually went to Community Collaboration of Delaware, which has a men's recovery house right in Old Newcastle. If you're familiar with that, clap your hands, right? Yeah, right? Yeah. So it's a tremendous resource, and it's probably one of the number one recommendations that we have for people leaving a 30-day treatment center that need extra support. I know I needed extra support, a lot of it. So I'm glad they're in the house. And this brother went through there. I'll never forget that I was sitting in my car being of service. If you're of service, you know you get called to do stuff. And he walked up next to my car. And this is the first and only time it ever happened. He walks up next to my car, and he would identify as a different religion as me at that time, or what he was taught about God. And he's next to my car, and he's talking to me, and he didn't mess around about it. He said, man, I want you to sponsor me. And I was blown away. I said, well, you know the book I work out of? And he said, I don't care. He said, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I got the honor to hear him celebrate and give him his medallion in NA. And I had a brother in the crowd say, yo, man, the way you hit your knees in the morning in your spiritual practice really affected me from the floor in an NA meeting. And it was powerful. So I'm going to give you guys Brother Juan. Come on, Juan.
How's everybody doing tonight? First off, I got to thank God, man, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be here, you know, and everybody in this room. Just, I bless y'all. I hope God bless y'all and y'all continue your journey. My story starts way before I even was born. To be family, it's been generational. I've always been around it. Prostitution, drugs, everything, partying, everything. It's my family, mom, dad. My dad was a military man. I think he came home from the Marines. I was about 5. I was a little intimidated of him, but always been around drugs and everything. My grandmother died from an alcohol issue, being abusive. Me being abandoned when I was younger, dad not being there. So by me having to fend for myself, it actually had me make the decisions to lead that lifestyle. I never really wanted that lifestyle. I wanted to do right, stay out of trouble, just do the things I was supposed to do, as a regular, sane human being is supposed to do. But that wasn't in the cards for me. It wasn't. But I had a decision to make, I had a decision to make a better choice. But being hurt and left with all the trauma, it had me make a decision that got me where I'm at today. So, with that being said, just my addiction carried over. I did some things in my addiction that I'm not proud of. Womanizer, manipulating, doing all those things. Those things that a lot of people frown upon. But I chose the path. I've dealt with some ups and downs. And I'm here to testify about it. I'm just so grateful that I'm still here to see my children grow, have them back in my lives, just to do the things that God intended me to do. Relapses in my story. Like Zach said, I did attend CCD, met some great people in CCD. That was a good place. I mean, it really started me towards my journey of really wanting to do right. But I relapsed. Went back to treatment. I went to Bowling Green. Zach usually come there on Thursdays, so I knew he was coming. So I specifically went to that service so I could see him and let him know I was back. So he made a suggestion to me. He said, "You want to go Northeast?" I'm thinking Northeast Philly. He said, "No, Northeast Maryland." I was like, "What?" I said, "Shh." So I was like, "You know what? All right." So he made a phone call. Trish and Bob got Trish on the phone. He said, "I got somebody that want to come." So she had a little conversation on the phone with her. So a week later, I had the big interview with her on the phone. Then she accepted me. So from there, from after I leaving Bowling Green in March, matter of fact, I got almost 19 months clean. So I've been there a year and a half. So I get there, it's the usual, blackout, whatever. You just got to follow the rules, and it's good to have some structure, especially there, because it's a tight shit. It is, definitely is. So got there, 90 and 90, which was killing me. It was, but that's the process you go through with transitioning and turning your life around. So I'm still there, actually. I got a plan. That's why I'm there so long. I'm taking a peer course, doing that now, like 4 months into it. I have to give back. I got to give what it was freely given to me. Lead somebody else in a path of recovery. So I just can't thank God enough. Oh, and this other thing, I just started working at UPS store, right? They get a little test, fingerprint technician. Now I can get fingerprints. Before, I was on the other side giving up fingerprints. I ain't never think I'd be on that side. I'm usually stand on the wall, turn left, turn right. But it is what it is. And I'm just grateful. My journey is, I just can't stop thanking God. You know, I just want to give it to somebody else. You know, that's really all I got. So thanks for letting me share it.
Well, hey everyone, how are you? Good to see you. This next speaker that I'm introducing, I don't want to tell any of her story, it's for her to tell, but I will say that I did not know her, and I met her, and she asked me to take her through the steps that we do spiritually, 12 steps for Christians, and you know, the enemy tried to play with me and say, you're not from that fellowship. Like, you don't qualify to do that. You didn't have the same journey as her. But being that she had already been through her steps and I had already been through mine, I said, hey, why don't we do them together? Because I need to go through mine again. So I have the privilege of introducing somebody that I've, in the short time I've gotten to know, just continually does the next right thing and does what she needs to do. And is active in her recovery journey. So I want to introduce Lauren. You got it.
Hi guys, I'm Lauren, I'm an alcoholic. Okay, sorry. My sobriety date is December 19th, 2023. I have a sponsor who knows she's my sponsor. And I also sponsor other women. I'm an alumni of Bowling Green and Impact Life. My rock bottoms when I woke up in a field, half naked, surrounded by Narcan. I am a survivor of human trafficking. And so that day I walked over like 7 miles just to get to the Hope and Dream Center in Dover, where I told them what was going on, how they were out to kill me and everything like that. I called my mom, I called my dad, asking anybody just to pick me up and take me to a hospital. They all said no. So I waited till nightfall, and I walked about 5.5 miles the long way around in Dover so I wouldn't be in town just so I can get to the hospital. I went in, I told them what had happened, I spoke with police officers. I was in the hospital for about 2 days. Then I went to Meadowwood. They told me I needed to, like, there was meds in my body that they haven't even seen in the United States yet. But, so I went to Meadowwood, and when I was there, I decided I didn't want any of their comfort meds because I needed to feel whatever I was about to go through. I just asked them, don't let me die. From Meadowwood, I was there for about a week and a half. I spent Christmas there. Then I went to Bowling Green, where I met this previous speaker. And Bowling Green, like, at first, I had this crappy counselor, and I was like, no, I need a good counselor. So I got the trauma therapist there, and I just took off. Yeah, I broke rules in rehab, but I pretty much settled down. And then I knew I needed something longer than just 30 days. So I went to Impact Life, the Sanctuary, which is a 3.1 program, and it's called The Farm. I spent 6.5 months, almost 7 months there. While I was there, I got a sponsor. I went through all the way up until step 8. I learned a lot about myself. I learned how to sit with myself. I learned how to be okay with just being me, being in my own skin, because that's all we could do there. I mean, we had to take care of the farm animals and the gardens, but ultimately I had to learn to be okay with me. I learned how to trust female again, and I wasn't worried. Like, I actually grew to love myself, and my relationship with my higher power grew even stronger when I was in there. I prayed every day, every night. I was meditating. I did whatever God asked me to do. You know, in the morning, I always turned my will over and always asked for someone to help and along the way. And then I graduated the farm, and I moved up here to their step-down house, where I spent another 7 months. But I finished my steps. I became the house manager of the sober living house I was living at. I got a job. I'm a productive member of society now. But I also volunteered today at the Recovery Cafe in Wilmington, working on getting my peer certification thing done, because that's like my goal. I want to give back what was given to me. And I know that's God's purpose for me, because anytime I'm feeling any other feeling than happiness, all I got to do is turn and help the next person. And it makes me feel 100 times better. Today, I also found out that one of my human traffickers, he pled guilty to human trafficking and maintaining a drug property, and he was released from prison. He's on 2 years of probation, level 3 probation. Now, I know it's God's will. I have no control over it. Yeah, at first I was upset about it because I didn't get, I feel like there was no justice. But there's a reason behind everything that God does, and I just give it to God, because if I take control over it, I'm going to end up back in the streets. And so today, my main goal every day when I wake up is to do the next right thing, to help the next person, because that's my purpose, And I have 2 beautiful kids. My daughter's talking to me on a regular basis. My son, he just friend requested me on Facebook, even though I haven't talked to him in a couple months. But I'm starting to build relationships now that are healthy, and I have boundaries. I'll talk to my mom, and the moment she starts being negative, I can say, no, I'm not going there with you. I love myself today. My concept of higher power is huge. My God is bigger than any problem I can possibly have. I have a healthy relationships. I actually, I moved out of the step-down house, and I graduated the program, and now I rent a room with my boyfriend, and I have 2 guinea pigs. They're the cutest things ever, but, I'm just grateful. I might not be where I want, but I'm grateful from where I came from. Having absolutely nothing to what I have now in my heart, and having God, that's all I need. So thanks for letting me share.
Good job. Give it up for her one more time, please. So the next speaker, Keith. Keith isn't going to be here tonight. We're going to give it up for Keith. I met Keith in Banyan, Delaware. Thank God for Banyan. We do a couple initiatives in Banyan. We do a recovery Bible study. One of my mentors, 37 years in AA, 20 years walking with the Lord. I might have the numbers wrong. It might be more than that. Serves twice a week, and I get to go down and serve twice a week, and some of you have served down there. He actually showed up in Bible study like most of us do, how did I get here? And he had staples in his forehead. He's affiliated, literally staples a year ago. And I want to give praise and honor to God for restoring his life. And he's down there celebrating a year down in Rehoboth at the NA meeting. So just give a round of applause for Keith. So she's on early, but we're way ahead of schedule. So please let the Spirit move. I'm going to introduce my home group member. Sally, come on up here, girl. It's a long walk, too. Hey, let it move now.
Holy. I've never had a stage this big before. Hi, everybody. I'm Sally. I'm a woman in recovery. I don't see my treatment center here. I came from Recovery Centers of America. I'm a long-time patient from them. Actually, I noticed my patient ID number has like 2 digits less than the people that are there now. It took me a while to get it, because like everybody was saying, like, treatment is one thing and it's a blessing, especially when you're blessed enough to have insurance and you can go to a place like RCA. RCA in Indianapolis was nice. The one in Bracebridge was a mansion. It's a mansion. I was blessed to go there. I learned a lot there. But the most important thing I found there was God. Couldn't sleep. They gave me sleeping meds, but still I was up late, and I woke up early, and I was wandering around, and I joined Bible study. And I'm like, okay. There was a cute guy in there. That's why I was there. Yeah. Don't even remember his name now, but what I found there was like, I can't explain it. If you've ever felt the Spirit, like that's what it was. And that's what I recognize now when I do feel the Spirit. It's that same feeling I got. It's overwhelming, especially when you come from a place of desperation, and that's where I was at. I had a long journey from Indianapolis to Delaware, Maryland. I was in Maryland. Long journey. Put a lot of people's lives in danger. My cat was in danger. Just driving under the influence of a lot. And even when I got to where I was at my son's father's house, and the jig was up. Like, I had been messing up for a long time. And that's why I wasn't welcome at my mom's in Indiana anymore. And we made a decision to come over here, and that was the biggest blessing. Going back to rehab, it took me a while to get there, but I eventually did. And I was still holding on to my will while I was there. I was just scheming. How do I keep what I have? How do I get back what I don't have? How do I do this? And I ended up staying there, leaving, going to Puerto Rico. I relapsed like once, but then I stayed sober. But then, again, I didn't enter into recovery. I entered into their outpatient, which was just the same social, I don't know. I was just playing social games, making friends, being the queen of rehab, rehab romances, all that stuff. And then that continued in outpatient. I didn't enter into recovery. And then eventually I got kicked in my butt again, and this time I stayed there 38 days. 38 days. And that's when I met Zach in that stay. And Zach's passion, Strength and Recovery, that's our home group. It's amazing. The fire that Zach and the things he was saying and the things that I didn't think anyone else felt and anyone else understood, like Zach spoke to me. But Zach also asked me where I was going that first time he met me after I left rehab, and I was like, I'm going home, back to my mom and my son, and we're going to keep doing the same thing. And I got the same results. I did end up finding a sponsor, and the one thing she said that actually led me to her was, well, you can start on step 4 because you did 1 through 3 in rehab. And that, I'm sure, works for some people. I'm sure they go through steps 1 through 3, but I was at such a hopeless state of mind. I was more powerless than what I thought. I was powerless over more than just alcohol. See, I had a troubled childhood. I asked God to give me a memory of something. And he gave me this silly memory that I have that I held on to for a long time. My mom knows this one. It involves a shoe and my younger sister and a video camera. And it's so simple. My little sister wanted to play with her Barbies with this shoe, but the shoe was mine. And I didn't want her to play with it. And I threw like the world's biggest fit. And I was a child, so that's like forgivable. The problem with that is I was like kind of, after that, I was just the drama queen. And rightfully so. I was being dramatic. But I took those words and I held on to it. And from then on, like I decided my parents don't love me, they don't validate my feelings, and I learned all this stuff in therapy later that kind of explained why, being called a drama queen invalidates you and it makes you feel unsafe. It's like, whatever. I held on to that. And I treated that little girl, my sister. I have two sisters. One, the older one, I idealized. The younger one, I treated her like poop. I'm almost ashamed to say sometimes that I was 6 years old when she was born, and I was loving it. I think my first addiction was attention, and the attention I got from being the baby of the family. And that was taken away when she was born, and I treated her exactly how I felt about her. Fast forward a little bit, I was able to make amends to that girl. And this is a little bit later than when I first started talking about this, but I made amends to my younger sister. And the beauty of that was that I made amends not just for how I behaved when I was drinking and drugging and the pain I caused her. I went back further because my sickness started before I picked up a drink. I made an amends for how I treated her growing up. And I was sober and a child. And she deserved that amends. And that was probably the most spiritual amends that I've had the pleasure of having. And I have a great relationship with that girl. She's a beautiful human being. And I'm just so happy that God has given me her back in my life. And we can keep moving forward. But why did God reveal that memory to me? And I go back because what I think about when I think of that story is that I was the actor, right? Drama queen, I'm the actor described in how it works. Each person is like an actor who wants to run the whole show, is forever trying to arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery, and the rest of the players in his own way. If his arrangements would only stay put, if only people would do as he wished, the show would be great. Everybody, including himself, would be pleased. And, that story goes on to talk about how the actor can portray positive things and the actor can portray negative things, but most of the time it's a little bit of both. And moving on a little bit, what really got me was, is he not really a self-seeker, even when trying to be kind? And that really, hit me so hard because I never thought of myself as a bad person, but I felt so much shame. And I think that shame was because even when I was being kind, it was for me. It was self-seeking. And it wasn't until I worked the 12 steps that I realized that. And I was able to change that. So I did end up joining Strength and Recovery. No, I didn't end up joining Strength and Recovery until after I ended up going back. Yeah, so starting at step 4 didn't work out. And I actually just did a lot of church stuff and a lot of Bible reading and a lot of praying. But because I never took step 1 with a sponsor, and I'm ashamed to admit because I cherish Jesus so much, my heart was actually hardened to him. And I was powerless over that. I was powerless to let God in, and I needed to reach out, and I needed to take my heart that had been hardened from a young age. My heart was hardened from a young age, and I wasn't letting God in. I didn't know how to be loved. I didn't know how to love. And it wasn't until I admitted that I was powerless over this separation I had from God that I was able to move on to step 2 and put my faith in God. And, step 1, I can't. Step 2, he can. Step 3, he will. And I'll let him. And then that's really like, I did all 12 steps, but in recent history, I'm realizing that I really need to take a look at step 1 again. Yeah. And we all should at some point. It's just, I don't know if anyone's tried. Like, interpersonal relationships in early recovery, they can be dangerous because it's easy when there's someone there that is willing to comfort you, and it's easy to let them comfort you. But then if you don't remember your steps and where you came from, you can rely on that comfort you received from someone else. And then eventually you start to rely on them. And one, yes, Sally, I'll do that for you. And one, yes, Sally, it's okay. And it's never enough. No, one is too many, and 1,000 is never enough. One of those is too many, and 1,000 is never enough. I have no control over other people, including the people I love, and I have no business doing that. So that's something I'm dealing with actually right now. But the good news is I don't have to drink about it. I don't have to use about it. I got the program. Like, even when I fall short, the program works, you know? God, I spent an hour today just closing my eyes and listening to God. And I feel the Spirit, and the anxiety is creeping in, but I feel it. I feel the Spirit. And I have hope. And I have hope that I'll get through this. And so I didn't mention, I met Zach again, and this time he asked me where I was going. I met him in rehab the second time. Now, my last relapse of that, I don't like to talk about it. It was bad. I was on the streets. I was homeless. And that happened in like 2 weeks. That's how bad. That's how fast the disease will get you. Because when you have a mind full of AA and a belly full of alcohol, it gets real dark real quick. So I was put on my butt really quick, and I made it to rehab. Still had insurance. God's grace gave me what I didn't deserve, and I went back to RCA, and I met Zach, and this time when I came out, I went to Strength and Recovery and made it my home group. Because I had Jesus, and then I still shut him out. But when I met Zach again, I felt that hope, I felt that fire, and this time I took it, and I took his suggestion, and I went to a recovery house, and I went to Redemption Addiction Treatment Center. Yeah. So I went to Redemption, and I stayed in the Novak house for a few months, and that was just a whole, everybody knows recovery house problems. It's a whole lot of personalities. But like, and you know what? Immediately I came out, and I tried to sin. I don't know. I was just trying to. I literally had the thought that I better. There was a guy I thought was cute, and I was like, I better get him before I start the steps, and my sponsor makes me break up with him because you can't. It's ridiculous. I'm insane, and I was still insane after 30 days. So I ended up getting a sponsor in AA. I felt drawn to AA, and I'm so glad I did, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have read this chapter about the actor, and I've been the actor, and I'm still, in a sense, the actor, but the actor is starting to let the director direct the show. And sometimes the actor tries to, put his hands here, put his hands there. But ultimately, I always turn back to God. God's grace has given me what I don't deserve. And when I say that, I mean that job that I left in Indiana, it turns out it's a big corporation. They support mental health, and as long as you stay in treatment, and I was in treatment for that whole year, except the bits and pieces that I was using. But I made it back quick enough, and God's grace kept me not my position, but a position with the company. And I was going to accept entry-level role in the company, just humble myself. Like, I don't deserve the title that I had. I don't deserve this. But again, it's the Spirit, and it was getting time to renew my disability, and it was not looking like it was going to get renewed, and the Spirit just came to me, and I had been in prayer, and I found this amazing position with an amazing store, and it's where I'm supposed to be. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. It's not easy like the entry-level positions, but it's a job that teaches me a lot. I actually have, I work in a position where I do come in contact with a lot of people that struggle with addiction, and I see that. And unfortunately, my part of the job is to, when they decide to steal things, I have to call the police if they don't cooperate. And unfortunately, despite my pleas, I've sent some addicts to deal with the consequences of their actions. And that brings me to kind of where I'm at now, you know. My family. Oh, God, I got to talk about that real quick. I'm sorry, we're ahead of schedule anyway. My son, he's amazing. Oh, and I serve. I always forget. Like, I serve with Firm Foundations. I've done their peer recovery program. Like, I've gone to rehabs, and I've gone to treatment centers, and I talk to them just like I'm talking to you now, and it's amazing. And I serve with the Journey Church. And the best part about church is that my son comes with me, and my mom comes with me. And the most amazing thing happened on Compassion Weekend. I served with my son. Like, it's freaking... It's so amazing, like, the blessings you get. And I can't say this enough. The treatment center I go to, I've been there I'm still there. I'm still in, like, their lowest level of care. And I've chosen to extend it as long as my insurance will pay for it. And I only have to go there once a week for 1 hour a week. But last week I was there 6 hours. Like, there's something about, like, the treatment center. And when you bring your heart, and my heart and heart, and I brought it to God, and he allowed me to open up my heart this time in a treatment center. I get to do things like, I have a platform to share about what I'm going through. They ask you what you're grateful for every day, and it gets redundant sometimes, but I find myself thinking now, even when I'm not there, what I'm grateful for and what I'm going to do for my recovery. And it's a blessing to be in a treatment center that actually, like, will hold you accountable to that, and will celebrate with you, and will push you to join a recovery program, a 12-step program, and they'll ask you about it, and they'll be involved, and, like, it's just a blessing. But it's what you make of it. Any treatment center is what you make of it. And so if you stay in that treatment center, you do your IOP, you stay there 3 hours, and you go home and you do the same thing you did before, you're going to get the same results, regardless of whether you graduate that program or not. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, treatment separated me from the substance. They hold me accountable. and they drug test me, and they provide me services, medications, all that stuff. But if I didn't go home and do the work and put my faith in this simple program, I wouldn't be standing here before you today. With tomorrow, 2 days actually, I'll have 7 months by God's grace. Thanks for letting me share.
Hey, so I get a chance. I'm alumni at different places, and the Alumni Overflow Speaker Jam. Alumni is kind of a dying art. We used to have an alumni night, you know, in every facility, and it was like open. So if you was alumni from that facility, you could just roll in and do the meeting, you know. It might be 10 people there, it might be one, and if they didn't have the alumni meeting, they just did an in-house 12-step meeting, right? Food for thought. So I got a couple guys here. Is Al here? I see you, Al. Where you at? Al and Andy, you're being paged. Are they here? They must be outside. So I was going to have them come up and introduce, because if you guys ever been an alumni and you've been in the alumni facility and there's a guy above you, there's nothing like getting to introduce him. Al, that wasn't optional. I'm helping you, bro. So look, you got some power over them still, Steve, but they got an opportunity to introduce you. So these are two, come on up. Don't be shy. So these are two brothers, right? Not you, Steve, not yet. So these are two brothers. I want to give you a little bit of an experience that we were at Salvation Army Men's Program in Wilmington. And these are two graduates. They call them beneficiaries, and they got to speak a little bit. And they didn't know I was going to call them up here. But I do want them to introduce Steve, who I met Steve in Salvation Army when the old major was there, and they had levels, right? What level was he? When they got level 4? I think you had to be level 4 to go out to the facility. Him, Joe, a bunch of guys, they would go with us from the Salvation Army and go down to Banyan and serve. Isn't that crazy? One time we went all the way up and see my sponsor in Lancaster from a facility. Recovery is powerful. And look, Steve is still clean, and he's still helping people. Go figure. Go ahead and roast him, man. Here.
Steve's a good friend of mine. I seen Steve come in about 3 years ago, and he's a good man. He does what he's told, and he cares for the guys. So, Steve, you want to come up and talk? Want to say your story? Yeah. How's everybody doing? My name's Andy. I'm a person in recovery on a personal journey with Christ. I had the blessing to meet Steve. Steve was house manager in the Salvation Army where I went. Well, he had to put up with me, so he put up with a lot. Right? So I say this guy's really into it, and he's doing God's work there, and that's a blessing. What he does there is really, truly a blessing. He helped me. When I went in there, I was institutionalized. So, I didn't get along good with a lot of people at first. I gave them a whole lot of trouble. Steve put up with it. Sometimes he looked at me like, come on, Andy, But he put up with it, and he puts up with all these guys that go there. And that's something powerful right there. That's God's work, to put up with a bunch of people like me. But he's a good guy, man, and I love him. And I want to thank him for all the help he gave me. Thanks, Steve.
All right, God bless. All right, now it's my turn,
Love
right?
you. Yeah,
All right, good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? Thank you, Zach, for giving me this opportunity to come up here and speak. Thank you guys for the gracious words that you shared. My name's Steve, and I am in recovery. I'm from the Salvation Army in Wilmington, Delaware. Currently, I'm the resident manager there. I'll just give you a little background. I spent many years in addiction, struggling most of my adult life. I was homeless. before I came to the Salvation Army for approximately 1 year. I was living down in Georgetown, Delaware, and I was on the street for about a whole year. One day I decided I'm just going to try to go to rehab and see. I didn't plan on really staying, but I figured I'd give it a try. Salvation Army I did a 30-day rehab at Warwick, and they gave me 3 options to go to 3 different places. They said, I forget what the other 2 are, but they said, you go to this place. I said, yeah, let me go there. Now, Salvation Army was on the last of my list. I really didn't want to go there because of the things that I've heard, which really weren't true. That didn't work out for me because all the beds were full. The second one, they didn't accept me. The Salvation Army said, we'll give you a try. So I winded up going to the Salvation Army. And I remember when I walked into the doors, I really wasn't committed to doing this, to going to the program or even staying in the program. It was wintertime out, and I thought I'd give myself a little bit of time here, and then I'll just go back out. And when I walked in the door, the intake coordinator, she greeted me. Her name is Miss Diana. She was all happy and smiles, and I'm like, I don't know why this lady's so happy. I mean, what is she so happy about? So anyway, they went through the process. I went through the intake process, and she said, can I pray for you, or pray with you? And I have no background. When I was raised as a child, we didn't go to church. We didn't have God, we didn't do any of those type of things. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, what am I getting myself into? Is this some kind of cult or some kind of thing? I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, but she prayed for me. And I'll tell you, I felt better afterwards. And I didn't understand at that point what it was all about. But I said, I'm going to give it this program a try. And so I wind up, and it's been a struggle. It's not easy going through being in a treatment center. Our program is anywhere from 6 to 9 months. And there was a lot of challenges along the way that I had to overcome. However, I was able to stick and stay. That's part of it, to stick and stay. And I persevered because there's a lot to it. I'm going to explain to you some of the stuff that we do. But I graduated. I was getting close to graduating the program, and I was planning on leaving. I had some other plans. In my mind, I had some other plans, things that I wanted to do. And they said, well, they let go of the assistant resident manager, and they said, would you like to take the assistant resident manager job? I said, you must be crazy. I am not taking that job. I've already been here 7 months, and I have other plans. And the guy's like, well, what are your other plans? I really didn't have a solid plan, so I was like, all right, let me think about it. Let me sleep on it. And what I really wanted to do, because what I learned in the Salvation Army is I wanted to pray on it. So I gave it a night. And I said, I'll let you know in the morning. Anyway, the morning came, and I had a lot of doubts. I wasn't sure that I was smart enough. I didn't know if I was good enough. I think this is the enemy coming at me, telling me, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're never going to be able to do this. But anyway, I told him, I said, I'll give it a try. So I did. I gave it a try. And that was working out good. I was the assistant manager, which is a lot easier than the resident manager. So I did that for a couple months, and then the resident manager said, I'm leaving. I said, what do you mean you're leaving? I said, who's going to take your spot? Certainly not me. I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel like I was qualified enough. There's a lot more to it. But anyway, I said, well, if you're leaving, I figure he's given 2 weeks' notice. He said, no, I'm leaving today at 1 o'clock. He said, I'll show you what I do. I'll give you an hour. So he tried to show me everything in 1 hour. Now, in the beginning, it was a challenge, because I really, I didn't have the good computer skills as I needed to, but I had to learn. And I had to learn fast. And I really wasn't given a lot of help, right? But I managed to get by and to get to where I'm at. So I stayed in that position. And when he left, I didn't become the resident manager right away. It was a couple weeks later they offered me the position. I guess they wanted to see if I could possibly do it. So I became the resident manager at the Salvation Army. And my job is really great. I get to work with people in recovery every single day. All these guys that I know that go through the program, they help me as much as hopefully I help them. You know, I get as much out of them as hopefully they get out of me. Because I get to teach groups. I get to talk to these guys. I'm not the counselor. We have counseling. We have other things in our program. But that's the reward. You know, I'm going on 3 years there soon. And it's just so rewarding to be able to help other people. And in return, I get a sense of good feeling. My life has changed dramatically since I got in recovery. Everything is better and greater. And it's only from the blessings and the relationship that I have with God today that's helped me through this. See, during the process of this, I learned who God was. I learned how to have that relationship. I learned how to love. I learned how to love others, right? This is how I get by every day, is by helping somebody that helps me. That's how this whole thing works, I think. Each one help one. I'll give you a little bit of, but I think the one thing I want to convey is a message of hope, right? Also. And I wrote a couple things down because it's an important component of recovery. It requires motivation to overcome the repeated challenges that we face and the ability to generate pathways to overcome those challenges. Hope is a powerful source of strength and encouragement, reminding us that recovery is not only possible, but it's a journey of transformation and growth. And I see that every day. I see people come in. I see the lights start coming on in their eyes. Not only you see the physical change, you see the mental change, the emotional change, and most importantly, I say the spiritual change. Because that is so important. So I'll just give you a little information, because a lot of people don't know. Zach, we always talk about, they know a little about the Salvation Army, they don't know a whole lot. But we are a structured, supportive environment that focuses on personal growth and spiritual development. Our aim is to support adults in rebuilding their lives. We offer the spiritual, emotional, and social assistance to those struggling with substance abuse and other life challenges besides that, right? Behaviors and other things that we have to go through. The program is a safe environment for recovery. It equips individuals with tools for independence, and we also help foster a relationship with God. We offer the spiritual and emotional support I was talking about you. But it's not easy for these guys. Like, they have to, when you come into the program, we don't take any insurance or anything like that. Our program is fully self-supporting through the donations that people give to our place, which helps pay for the ARCs. And not only that, the Salvation Army does a whole lot of other stuff. In fact, in Texas, they're usually the first to arrive on a disaster where they have the floods and the last to leave. So disaster relief is there. They have to do work therapy. So when they come into the program, they would be assigned, usually they start in the warehouse. Some guys work in the kitchen. Some guys work in security. And then we have we have one now that's in housekeeping that keeps the place clean. It's a no-cost program. We don't accept insurance. The facility that we have is only 2 years old. I was there when it was the old building, and it was kind of run down, but it was still a good place to be. But this building is really nice. We have a gym upstairs. We have a library. We have 58 beds. We have beds available for whoever needs it. We have a rec room. We have TV rooms. We have a pool table. We have a huge, Zach's seeing it all, right? Dining area with a salad bar. I mean, our facility is nice. It's very clean, and it stays that way. So it's a good place to come to want to change, to want to make your life better. I thank God for Salvation Army for helping me through my struggles and the things that I went through to get me to where I'm at today. Listen, I still face challenges. It's never going to be. You're always going to have struggles. You're always going to have problems, but you learn how to deal with those things. You learn how to overcome them with God's help. So, there's a lot of things also we learn about coping mechanisms and things that we learn in the program. We have counseling one-on-one, and we have a lot of other things. We have a lot of groups. Zach's group comes in. Thank you, Zach. Strength and Recovery comes in on Monday night, every other Monday. We have AA come in. We have NA come in. So you get a full dose of whatever, And what I always say, whatever works for you. See, because some people, it depends. Some people it's a combination of things. Some people I'm strictly AA or strictly whatever works for you is what I say, because I think that's important, because we're all different. Everybody's different. We all have our own individual choices, and we find our own ways and our own paths to recovery. And if it's keeping you clean, you stay with it. You do what you need to do. For me, I choose God, but everybody has their own choice. So I want to thank you again, Zach, for this opportunity to come out here for me to share some of my how I got to where I am, and how we're available to help others to keep going. All right. Thank you.
He did good, right?
I did good. I was nervous, but you couldn't tell, right?
No, you couldn't tell. Couldn't tell. So I got the honor and privilege to introduce a speaker that isn't here. Things come up in recovery, amen? Like if someone calls or something happens, we plan to come. But usually if we give a word, we'll come. So Brother Khalil, I love you. Khalil works for RI. A lot of people in the room know Khalil and his story. I was looking forward to hearing it in person. But give it up for Khalil. He's at work right now, all right? All right. The troopers stay to the end, and we're going to be ahead of schedule, so I'm going to introduce his replacement speaker, and I'll tell you a little bit about him, right? I get the honor and privilege to meet a lot of people. So I was at CCD House one time, and this guy asked me to sponsor him, and I'll tell you what, he was crazy, y'all. And I recognize crazy coming out of jail, right? Because I've been in jail, right? Many times. And he was like sped up. And I didn't see him for a while. And this brother asked me to go speak at AA meeting, right? And I go speak at the AA meeting, and God shows up, right? And he walks up to me. It must have been a year, right, Keith? Like a good year that I hadn't seen this brother. And when Khalil didn't show up, because he's always willing to serve. He serves at a lot of events. And we went to this other event downstate, and he shared a little bit of his experience in the institution. So Khalil was speaking as alumni. Anybody been to prison? Anybody? Yeah, everybody. So we could all speak for alumni for the prisons, but Khalil's experience in the prison, I don't want to have a spirit of comparison. It's very substantial. But I was thinking about it, and I said, Keith, are you willing to speak? And he said, yeah. So Matt H., come on up here, Matt. I know you're here, Matt. Oh, he missed his opportunity. He wanted to come up. But I'll tell the story for him, right? So Matt has been getting honest in the rooms, and he's a good brother. He's been around us a long time. And Keith carries these coins with him. Has to be from God, because I guess he had an experience where he missed out on something, right? And he wants no one else to miss out on that. So the other night, Matt was at, what meeting was you at, Matt? More Than Just Alcohol. Come on up, brother. You wanted to come up? Come on, come on. So I just want you to tell a 30-second story of what happened at More Than Just Alcohol with you and Keith before we bring him up here, all right? 30 seconds. You done? With the coin.
Thank you.
Just hit him.
So much has been happening to me, so it's like, all right, like, you gotta be specific. So, so Monday, so my name is Matt. I'm a survivor in recovery, thanks to God.
What's up, Matt?
And got 5 years, 9 months. And there's about 3 years where I didn't go to meetings, wasn't in the rooms, didn't stay connected. But God kept me from drinking and using. Lost my late fiance back December 19th of 24 because I was struggling with surrendering to God. Well, January, she passed 6 days before Christmas. And then January, I said, all right, started going back to meetings. And the 3 years and through her passing, it was God that kept me from drinking and using. So I didn't drink or use because of it, even though she struggled. But he showed me firsthand where the disease can take somebody. And yes, I started going back to the meetings, being connected again in January of, well, Christmas of last year, then January. And yes, and then Monday I was laid off from a job. Hit me a little hard, but God provided. I have another opportunity Monday. So yesterday I got up early, got on the bus, and got on the bus, didn't know what I was going to do, but I got up early, got on the bus. Went to Price Corner Park and Ride, and gave one guy, I had 3 cigarettes that were menthol. And anyway, I asked one person, they didn't want them. Didn't want to give them to the guy that was in the hub station or bus station. But I asked this other guy, I said, hey, you smoke? He's like, yeah, but I don't have any cigarettes. I said, hey, here's 3 cigarettes. This guy said, thanks, I'm in recovery. Or I said, I'm in recovery. He's like, I'm in recovery too. We go about our way. He goes, does his thing, I do my thing. And I go to More Than Just Alcohol. Well, I was in a situation I shouldn't have been in. And I was like, all right, it's time for me to go. I'm going to More Than Just Alcohol. Got on the bus, came back. Get to the meeting in Ellesmere. And the guy that gave the cigarettes to is there. And he's like, I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm here every Friday. I said, yeah, but it was crazy because I didn't know that he went to the meeting, and then I gave him a couple cigarettes, and God brought us back together at the evening. I was like, wow. So my man Sheed gives out the coins at the Friday night meeting, and he was like, hey, anybody, blah, blah, goes through the clean time, and at the end, is anybody more years or more or whatever, or any amount, and I don't normally speak up, because for me it's 24 hours just today, and but I'm proud of where God's got me in the time that I've been clean. And I was like, you know, I said, I got 5 years, 9 months on the 10th. And I didn't get up or nothing. I just sat there, and Keith sits at the same table. And then Keith slid me the 5-year coin. Even though it's 5 years, 9 months, he slid me the metal 5-year coin with Dr. Bill and Bill and Dr. Bob. And I'm like, wow, like, thank you. Like, that really, I wasn't expecting it. And he slid me the metal coin. I'm like, wow, it was nice and it was cool. And that was just like, I wasn't expecting that. So that was the nice thing that Keith did, and God, and I guess things like that can happen through God's grace and mercy, but us not keep coming around, sticking and staying. Don't leave, because if you leave, for me, it only hinders for myself, can't speak anybody else, but it hinders my recovery, hinders my process, and keeps me complacent or stagnant. I don't get anywhere if I leave. I'm just sitting still, getting nowhere. And I like the back of it, though. It says, rarely have we seen a person who has thoroughly rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, brother. I told you I'd get you up here. He asked to come up, and I said, well, that's why you're not coming up, but God made a way.
I didn't ask. He said, we can't keep the secret about it up. I said, well, why you ain't got me up there?
Right. Kick the door in, baby. So listen, I wanted to tell you how God works. That's a firsthand practical story. And if you're in recovery and your eyes are open, it happen all the time. So I know Keith's going to light it up with the Spirit because all that happened. Come on up, Keith.
My name's Keith, and I'm an alcoholic. As of June 27th, I have 3 years. That is one of many miracles God has been fortunate enough to bless me with, that I'm fortunate enough to have received from God, excuse me. But starting off, I refused to go to recovery places. I wasn't that bad. I could keep a roof over my head and pay my bills and still stay high all the time, but I wasn't that bad. I wasn't an addict. I wasn't an alcoholic. I had a lot of success in my life early on through alcoholism that kept me fooled to that point that, no, I'm not an alcoholic. Alcoholism affected me so bad, that spiritual malady affected me so bad that if I wasn't drinking, I was trying to find a way to deal with my head, to not be in my head, whether it was being violent with people, it wasn't always bad, because there were times like I would just overwhelm myself trying to help everybody, but I wasn't helping myself. And as long as I kept myself out of my head, I didn't care, because being up here was a nightmare. So as long as I had something to deal with that aspect of it, nothing else mattered. The successes didn't matter. I thought that would make me happy. I had my own business by the time I was 20 years old, bought my own house by the time I was 20 years old. I went in the Marine Corps thinking that would snap me out of it, would make me happy. Didn't work. Children, didn't work. And then I had something happen to me that kind of sent me into a downward spiral real bad. I started having some health issues. I lost the use of my hands. I lost the use of my legs. I'm not supposed to be able to walk right now, so anyone that says miracles aren't possible, right here. Living proof. We're all living proof in this room that miracles can happen. It's called eyes wide shut. Once you open them eyes, once those eyes get open, you see a lot of things you didn't think was possible. You realize what can actually happen given the opportunity and the chance. But I stumbled through life. I would find people to get violent with. I would drive around at night looking for a-holes that were beating on women just to beat on them, to give me a reason to put hands on somebody. Someone right down here can tell you all about that one, because that's how we actually originally met years ago. But my life now, compared to what it was, is crazy. How I got into the 12 steps was crazy. I wound up getting incarcerated, went in front of a judge. Now, I BS judges into thinking, oh, yeah, I'd go into a treatment center. As soon as I get released, nah, I'm back out to the streets. And it wouldn't matter, because, while I was in there, being incarcerated, you want to do anything you can to get out of there. Honestly, you're willing to do anything you can to get out of there. And, yeah, I could take a lie detector test in there. And it would be, honestly, sincerely, that I wanted to get help. I didn't want to be who I was. But as soon as I got on the streets, hey, let me go. I know where I can go. I can take care of this right now, and we'll do the recovery stuff later. We'll do the treatment center later. Well, June 23rd, 2022, Supreme Court judge. I had somebody owe me some money, so I thought it was a good idea to go take some collateral to get me to pay them, to get them to pay me, because that's the way my mind thought. I was going to get even, one way or the other. Well, the judge looked over my file. He's like, I'm not having this. You're going to a level 4 treatment program. What? So I'm thinking it's CREST or whatnot, and it's they turned CVOP into CCTC, Community Corrections Treatment Center. And this is my mind thought. Then I'm like, yeah, okay, like this is going to do something. You got jokes. Well, I go in there, and I wound up meeting some guys at that point in time in their life. They honestly wanted to not be who they were again. And the program that they have in there, you're going to get what you put into anything. But the program that they have, it didn't feel right to me. And I'm sitting here, I'm actually honestly praying to God in here, wanting an answer. And somebody comes in from meeting with a counselor or something, they got this little AA placard. It's got like 20-some questions on it. If you're an alcoholic, yeah, sure, something to do, So I go through this thing, and I answer these questions. I'm like, oh, damn, I might be an alcoholic here, Not just an addict, an alcoholic. 6 of one, half dozen the other, really. Just because your poison's different, the mentality's the same, Well, me and some guys get together, and we decide to try to get the AA 12 steps into their program. And we successfully did. We had to write up a curriculum and everything, and we had like 13 guys who met core every week, and we went through the book. We went through every step. We shared our 4th step with each other. We had to get help from one of the counselors in there who happened to be a member of AA, and she helped us to do the 4th step properly, because we didn't, there were some aspects of that still kind of befuddled us. Needless to say, 13 guys sitting down with a dictionary looking up words out of the AA Alcoholics Anonymous book was an interesting thing. But we actually got through it. And to this day, last time I talked to them, all 13 of us are still sober. Well, when I got out, I went to CCD, still not knowing what I was going to do, not knowing how I was going to do it. Like a wild cat that got put in a cage for a while and then let back out and didn't know which way to go. I'm from down in Sussex, and I decided to come up this way because I knew if I went back down in Sussex, the odds of me actually staying sober were slim to nil. And I knew that because I knew everybody down there. I knew where I could get anything I wanted to at any given point in time I wanted to. So I decided to come up here. And I think it was my 2nd week in there. I met Zach. We talked. And I asked him then about becoming my sponsor. And then I had some issues with a staff member that got hired at CCD. So I wound up handling a situation not quite as well as I could have handled it. I mean, I had good points, but the way I was verbalizing them, they didn't think too highly of. So yeah, I was still just a tad on the wild side, to put it mildly. But I wound up getting dropped off at Sunday Breakfast Mission, which I don't advise anybody going there. If you haven't been there, yeah, not a good place. But I'm sitting here, I'm praying, I'm like, what am I going to do? And then it just come right to me. Call a friend of mine. I knew he was in Oxford. They just opened up another Oxford house. And I got in there. Within 24 hours, my stuff went from the Bridge Clinic in Newcastle, where they were holding on to it for me, to Oxford House Eric. And I was in there. So I'm like, okay, this is where you want me at, God. What's next? And come to find out, it wasn't that he wanted me there, but it was a place for me to kind of get my head on a little bit better balance, a little bit better keel. Give me a lot of time to pray and meditate. But I couldn't get everything rolling there. You know, Oxford, you got to pay by the week and everything. So I wound up in Impact Life because I didn't want myself to get in the hole with Oxford. The jobs I was getting was like barely even covering my rent. So I reached out to Nick, Impact Life, and he's like, yeah, we got a bid available now. Now, I tried to before, and there wasn't a bid available. So this is like, okay, this has got to be where he wants me at. I move over there. I was there probably a few months. Then I reconnect with Zach. We start going through my step work. And things started changing in me. Who I was in the past isn't who I was being. I wasn't as easy to violence. I actually come into a situation, walking in town, a guy putting his hands on a girl. And my first reflex wasn't just to knock the crap out of him, because that's how I would do it. I wouldn't give you a chance to square up with me to fight. I'm going to knock you down. I'm not going to say a word to you. I'm just going to hit you. But I handled the situation in a way that I didn't think was possible for me. I got into the middle of it, and I talked it out. I made sure she was all right. I made sure he understood. You don't put your hands on a woman like that, you know? And then I walked back home, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, who the heck was that? Because that wasn't me. That almost brought tears to my eyes, because it was just like, it had me so screwed up in my head in a way, because it was like, this is who I am now. That change in me was one heck of a spiritual experience. Realizing that my prayer and meditation was working. That it might have not been a change every day, but from the time I got out to then who I wasn't the same person. I felt differently. Things touched me differently. And the situation with the coin, I'm kind of glad I got brought up, because that was another spiritual experience I had. More than just alcohol has been my longest running home group. I've been serving them for probably 2.5 years now. We had a Sunday meeting that I started running myself. And one night I had a guy come in there. He had just come from PA. He was homeless for a few days because he had to wait a few days before he could move in. But he wasn't even sure he was going to move into where he was talking about. But he had a year that night. And at that point in time, more than just alcohol, didn't do year coins. We did 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And I had my year coin in my wallet. And I was sitting there with the meeting, and I seen the way he acted, like how it was affecting him, not having that year coin, you know? And it just come over me. I pulled that coin out of my wallet, and I'm like, here. So this is my coin. Just take it. You need it. And that brought tears to his eyes. And that touched me in a way that I've never been touched in my life, seeing what that did for him, seeing my willingness to give up something that meant so much to me because I made that milestone, but I knew he needed it. And I was working on, I think, 18 months then. And that's where it clicked in my head, like, you're going to get your 18-month coin. You don't have to have that one-year coin. He needs it. And that's what I did. And at that point on, I went online and I ordered coins to keep on me, 1 year through 10 years, typically. Now, when I know somebody's got something else coming out that's further, I'll grab a coin for it. But there's been quite a few people that I've been able to touch, being able to do that for them. Because a lot of people go into these meetings when they have years, and they don't expect that. But it's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling to actually be able to step away from myself and honestly help somebody just to get them to a better place than where they're at. And if it wasn't for my God, I wouldn't be that person today. I've got less now than I ever had, but I'm happier now than I've ever been. I've got an amazing woman in my life. I've got a job, steady cash. I don't make a killing of money, but I'm able to take care of her and me, take care of whatever we need. Surviving without a comfortable surviving, so I should say. And I'm trying to figure out how to manage money better than what I have been. I'm doing better than what I used to, but it's all a work in progress. I've got my financial obligations to the state that I'm slowly working down, whittling down. And none of that would be possible without God. None of what I have right now would be possible. And I recognize that. And I know every day, I'm not a perfect Christian by no means. I've got times that the way I talk, you wouldn't think I knew anything about God. But it's progress. It's not perfection. It's not about being perfect. It's about being able to step outside of your ego and realize that there's something out there bigger. And that bigger thing will help you if you're open and willing to have that dialogue with them and have those ears open so you can hear his direction. And I know as long as I do that, I'll be good. Nothing else matters. God puts me where he needs me. It's like tonight. My girl, she had, I think, 2 weeks based on speaking tonight. Me, I had a few hours, which, hey, that's good with me. I give him a standing invitation for that. I'm like, look, you need me, I'm there, no matter what it is. And it's an amazing gift to be able to do this. It's an amazing gift to be able to be up here and talk to people and hope at least one thing comes out of my mouth that's usable to them, that helps them. Because that's why we do this. This is why we sponsor. This is why we're a service. And as long as we keep moving forward and doing the next right thing, we're going to be good. I know it in my heart. We're going to be good. And that's all we got to keep doing. And as long as we keep doing that, the blessings are going to keep coming. The help's going to keep coming. It's right there. And all we got to do is have our eyes open, our ears open, and look for the messages, look for the signs. Talk about it with them. Because as long as we do that, he's going to help us. He was helping me, and I wasn't even having a communication with him. So I know he's going to help me if I'm having a communication with him. So, I mean, that's it. That's all we got to do. It's just keep that communication. Try to keep helping other people. Think of more than just ourselves. Because we are so much more than just ourselves. And once we realize that, once we accept that, and once we put that forward, we're going to get to see and experience things we didn't think were possible. I guarantee you. I know I have. I know there's probably a lot of people in this room that has. Thanks for letting me share.
You said don't give me no notice. Hey, we're going to take, 10-minute break? We can speed it up. Got pee? Somebody got pee? Oh, and there's coffee. My wife said there's coffee in the hallway. Take 10, 15 minutes and we're going to get started, all right? Stick and stay. Matt said the coffee's very good. You guys are following directions and taking suggestions. Everybody's back in the sanctuary. Wow. On time, earlier on time. You can dig, Joe can dig that. He's like, yeah, that's right. Let's get this thing rolling. So these next 3 guys that I'm going to ask to come up, well, really 4 guys, and his sponsors here. I was honored and privileged to see his sponsor roll in. I'm going to call the guys up from CCD House. Some of you guys know them. I'm going to call up CJ, Brother Pat, and a brother that's been resurrected from the dead. He looks so good out here tonight. My brother Greg W. They're going to come up here and introduce the next speaker.
Hi, my name's Pat. I'm have the pleasure to actually be up on stage with these 2 gentlemen. I wouldn't be where I'm at, without my sponsor, and these guys really influenced me being where I'm at today. The gentleman we're going to bring up, he's been in our program about 7 months, and I've seen him grow quite a bit. He has done a fantastic job, helping others in our house, and he's been a big influence to some of the new residents, and that's important. This is all about giving back, and like I said, these guys influenced me, to be able to do that, and I'm blessed to be here, and I'm blessed to be able to work with each and every one of these guys, so thanks. Next guy coming up is Kelly Perkins, and like I said, he's, been at our house and likes to share his story, so thank you very much.
Yeah, so I'm CJ. What's up, y'all? I work at Community Collab of Delaware in Newcastle. I used to be a case manager at the main men's house, which is where I met a lot of the people that's speaking. And now I do outreach, and I get to meet people out on the street. So Zach said to tell you a little bit about the CCD. We got a good sober living program. We got an outreach program now. And they just opened another program called Lift up in Claymont at the community center. So it's just 3 things that we trying to do to play our part. When I got to CCD, Greg was the guy that welcomed me in. We ended up having the same clean day back then, and he played a real important. He was like a year before mine to the day, and it just let me see how in a year you can accomplish some stuff, and that kept me going. And then Zach, he used to come pick me up. I was just telling my friend Ashley out there, he used to come pick me up, and I don't even know if I was supposed to be going. And he used to just come get me and take me with him to go out. So the guy that's about to come up, I knew him for a couple months. He comes and speaks at one of the meetings I do for my job, and he got a lot of stuff with him. I can tell that his recovery is good because he says a lot of the stuff that I say to people. He says, recovery, you hear the same sayings a lot over and over again, but people listen to him. You can tell that he's serious about his recovery. I didn't know him before, and you know how when you know somebody before and after they get in recovery, you can tell the difference. But with him, it's like I don't even have to know him before to tell that he's seriously in recovery. And I never got to see him speak like this, but I know that he does go out and speak. So I'm just happy to be here to be able to see that. That's all I got. Here's a guy.
My name is Greg, grateful recovering drug addict and alcoholic. It's an honor and privilege to be standing up here shoulder to shoulder with these guys and be in a room full of people that are trying to see God. I am an alumni of Community Collaboration of Delaware, outstanding program. Also alumni to many other places. I don't know if I have enough time to talk about the other places, but I needed a lot of help, and God always sent the help. With that being said, grateful to be here. Zach, as always, thank you for putting this on, and we will give you Kelly.
Hey everybody, my name is Kelly and I'm an addict. Not only am I an addict, I'm a grateful recovering addict. And I thank God for the opportunity to be present and to participate in my recovery. And one of the biggest miracles of today was I woke up to see this day. You know, I don't go to church like, I ain't gonna say like I should, but I don't go to church, but I believe in God. And that's my higher power. And I'm nervous. I'm really nervous, you know, because like the hardest thing for me to do is to come up here and talk about me. You know, today, we celebrate 9 months clean. And you know, that was only possible through God and the 12-step fellowship. I'm a proud member of Narcotics Anonymous, and I'm not afraid to say that to anybody. And, you know, jail and homelessness is a part of my story. I've been in every prison in the state of Delaware, and they put me in programs to try to get me to come into recovery, and I bought in just enough to get out of the system, and then I went back to my old ways. In 2009, I had made a decision to get clean, and I got clean, and I had 3 years clean. And I said this, you know, I've been thinking about this all day, like, what am I going to share when I get up there? You know, but like, this is part of my story, so I'm going to share it. And like 2012, December 16th, 2012, my dad died. And my dad, when he passed, had 25 years clean. And he was a big part of my recovery. You know, he did a lot of things in the community and in the process of Narcotics Anonymous. And so, you know, he would have literature laying around the house, and I would look at it and walk on by because I wasn't ready. But on December 16, 2012, God had another purpose for him. So, you know, he passed, and I'll never forget this because, like, when he passed, there must have been like 150 people showed up and stood outside the house in the rain to support, you know, and like, it was just one of those things where, you know, people would ask me, you know, they would say, "Are you okay?" And I would say, "Yeah, I'm okay." But truth be told, I was dying inside. And, you know, people were reaching, but I wasn't reaching back. You know, so like, I got to remember that, you know, because I'm quick to put judgment on what Narcotics Anonymous is or what a 12-step fellowship is or what it ain't rather than what it is. You know, and I shared this the other day because I went to, with my sponsor, guy was celebrating, and I pulled up and there must have been like 60, 70 people outside, and I immediately like, oh my God, I don't know any of these people, you know, and that fear came over me. Right? And then, like, I had to catch myself because, like, they just like me. They just searching to get another day clean. They don't care what I have or what I don't have, but how they can help me get another day clean. You know, and, like, you know, and I'm a firm believer in that, right? And, like, you know, I've been working more towards, like, service work being a part of my recovery because I think that's important. For me. It might not be for somebody else, but for me. Because, like, this thing was so freely given. And, like, I've taken away from not only my life, but I took away from my family's life. I took away from my community, you know. So today, you know, I choose to be part of the solution rather than a part of the problem. And, you know, I'm all over the place, but like after my dad passed, about 14 months after that, my mom passed. And my mom had cancer. And she worked in the health field. And so, like, she knew what the effects of taking the medication would do. And so she was already stage 4, so she chose not to take the medication. And I had, at the time, I had 2.5 years clean, right? And I moved back home. And I was supposed to be moving home to take care of her. And in the process, she ended up taking care of me. You know, there's certain things, like for me, that like I grasp to and I gravitate to that helps me get another day, you know. And one of those things for me is to help another addict. You know, I had to come to a point to where, like, I get up every day and I look in the mirror and I give myself 3 positive affirmations. You know, that helps me start my day. When my mom passed, I was in a motel room smoking crack. And my brother called me, and it was like 8:30 at night, and I wouldn't answer the phone because my brother doesn't, like, he don't make phone calls. He normally don't answer phone calls after a certain time. And so, like, when he called, I knew what it was. I didn't answer the phone, and I sat there and I started to cry. And when it took me about an hour, I got myself together and I cried and I called him, and he said, "Man, you need to get up here. Mom's dying." And in the same breath, he said, "Cut the chase. You missed it. She's dead." And I sat there and I cried some more, and I smoked more crack. And when I finally got up to the hospital, I just felt like I hadn't lived up to the expectations of what, you know, I should have been doing or what she might have thought of me. And I carried that guilt and shame for a long time. And like it took me this long to get back into recovery and to figure out that, like, you know, I just made some bad choices, that I'm not a bad person. You know, and like I used to say that, like, I suffer from depression. I no longer suffer from depression, but I have depression. And like, you know, I had to seek some outside help to help me work through it. You know, because like, and one of the biggest things was like, I had to just admit to myself that, like, you need some help, other than just the alcohol and drugs. You know, because that was just a symptom of what I was going through. Because early on, I had a hard problem identifying, like, who I truly was. You know, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I'll never forget that, like, my first day, my freshman year in high school, I sat down with my white friends to have lunch, and all the black people were looking at me, and they were pointing and saying, like, "Why is he sitting over there with them white people?" You know? And so from that day forward, I never sat in that cafeteria and ate lunch again. You know, through Narcotics Anonymous, you know, and I developed a you problem. So, like, through Narcotics Anonymous, I've been able to understand that, like, I don't have a you problem, I got a me problem. And my addiction is not what I eat, it's what eats at me. And, you know, like, the word surrender means a lot to me. I carry that a lot because, you know, and I've heard this a lot today, like, I can, he can, I think I let him. You know, one of the other things I stand on is that if it's not spiritual, then it's not practical. You know, because any time that I have something in my life that doesn't allow me to feel the freedom of recovery, then I need to let it go. You know, and like, and I haven't been with a woman in 9 months, and like some days I think like, man, but you know what? I got to remind myself, like, do you know what her favorite color is? Do you know what her hobbies are? You know, when you talk about having an intimate relationship with somebody, you know, like, I'm not there yet. I work on it, but I don't think I'm there yet. You know, and I just thank God, man. I just thank God, you know, because today, I don't feel okay with not being okay. And I say that to say this because through all the homelessness, like, I was okay with being homeless. I was okay with it. You know, and I have a cousin that's a pastor, and he tried to help me. And I'll never forget this because he got me into the Hope Center. I spent my time at the Hope Center. And then, you know, after that was up, I really, truly didn't know what I was going to do. And he never asked me, or he never said to me, this is what you should do, or this is what you got to do. He just asked me, what are you going to do? And so I made a decision to go to Bowling Green. And I went to Bowling Green, and I started to feel some of the freedoms that recovery offers. You know, I left Bowling Green, and I went into CCD, Community Collaboration in Delaware. And, like, you know, I did the IOP and, you know, just did a lot of work on myself to, you know, like really looking at myself, right? And, like, and to be honest with some people and tell some people, like, what's going on with me today. I had a surgery done about 2 months ago, right? And they put these balloons in between my disc, C3, 4, 5, and 6. And I was scared. I was scared to death. And usually when I get scared, I want to run. I don't want to face nothing. And so, like, I faced this, and it was like I had another decision to make. And the decision was to go through this operation and not use any narcotics, right? And I can remember sitting in the room some days because I had to wear this brace around my neck, and I had to wear it 24/7, 30 days. And, like, I remember sitting in the room and saying, damn, this shit hurts, and I'm crying and everything. And, like, you know, as they say, this too shall pass. It passed. You know, and so I was able to get through that without using any narcotics, and I feel good about that. That was something that kind of uplifted my spirit to that, like, I can do anything through Christ, first and foremost, right? And, you know, I'm going to say this, right, because sometimes in recovery we get so serious about some things that we forget to laugh, you know, and I had to remember how to laugh, right? And so, like, my dad used to say this thing. He said there was this guy that had a trailer full of papers, and he's going down the road, and one of the wheels falls off. Along comes a preacher, and the guy's cussing and fussing, and along comes a preacher, and he says, don't cuss, say praise God. So they put the wheel back on, they go a little farther, 2 wheels fall off. Guy's cussing, he's kicking up a storm. The preacher says, praise God. They go a little further, 3 wheels fall off. Same thing happens. So they get a little further in their journey. All 4 wheels fall off, the papers fall off the trailer, and the guy said, praise God. The trailer levitated, the wheels went back onto the trailer, the papers went back onto the trailer, and the guy said, praise God. And the preacher said, damn. Yeah, man. So, you know, I'm grateful. This is an opportunity for me to stand up here, man. Like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful to be up here. Zach has helped me come along in my journey as far as serving. And I've noticed that, like, when I go out and serve, it increases my spirit, right? Because, like, when I think less of myself and more of somebody else, then it makes me feel good. You know, I say this like for me to decrease so my life can increase through Christ. You know, I'm really grateful to be up here. I really am. You know, whatever I go through or what anybody goes through, you don't have to go through it alone. You know, and like I said, now I focus more on what a 12-step fellowship is rather than what it ain't, because I can be quick to identify myself out, and I don't want to do that today. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to end it right. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but it's an old saying that my dad used to say, Narcotics Anonymous, in 10 words or less. Flop, flop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Thanks for letting me share.
He's in the back. Hey, give it up for my brother, man. They say you haven't tried this program until you walk a man through the fifth step. That's some seed for y'all that think you've tried it, right? Experience some freedom. Freedom greater is to come. Where's Sojourners at? Sojourners in the house? Sojourners in the house? So for those who don't know at home, the crowd is still here. Everybody is here. We got a few speakers, and you do not want to miss the speakers coming up if you're at home. Pop your popcorn, all right? So, so I'm going to have my brother come up from another mother, my Narcotics Anonymous family, my brother in Christ, come up and introduce her in a second. But I want to tell you guys a little bit about the Sojourners house, Sojourners place. How long Sojourners been around, Miguel? 35 to 30, we don't even know. We don't even have an exact count. That's how many lives they've been saving, you know? So Sojourners Place is a completely free facility for those encountering homelessness, life challenges, and addiction. And we get the honor and privilege to go in and serve. When I say we, I mean the recovery community on Sunday nights, and it's truly been a blessing. They open the doors to the church to come in and do some service work. We got to do our annual service project and improve the grounds over there this year. And listen, I met this sister. When I see, I don't know about y'all, but when someone shares from the heart, I mean from the gut, you're like, whoa. You know what I mean? It comes out and hits you in the mouth, you know? So I remember her saying, I'm nervous. She didn't seem nervous to me, y'all. But I'm going to let Miguel. Miguel knows her a little better. Come on, Miguel. Come introduce our people.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Miguel. I'm an addict in recovery. So I did not know I was going to present Miss Nicole. I did not know that. It was last minute stuff, but it's cool, man. God is definitely in charge. So I am a substance abuse, peer recovery specialist, all of that stuff, man. And I'm one of the counselors at Sojourners Place, and I've been there like 3 years, right? I'm also an alumni. I'm also an alumni of Sojourners Place as well. I went through the program in 2006, and I completed and graduated successfully. And actually, while I was in Sojourners, that's where I began my career in counseling and treatment. And I've been in the field like 18 years now. I got 19 years clean, same sponsors, second only 2 home groups. Like I did my thing in Narcotics Anonymous, man, recovery period, man. God is definitely in the building. He's definitely in the building. So Zach called me a couple weeks ago, and he told me about the event, and he said, Miguel, I need somebody to represent Sojourners, an alumni. We're having an alumni event. I need somebody who completed successfully, come up there and share their personal experience and strength, and hope with their journey as Sojourners. And of course, he was thinking about me, you know what I mean? But I have a sponsor that trains. Yes, I'm going to use the word train. Right. I have a sponsor that trains me on the true definition of the spiritual principle called humility. Right? Zach constantly has me busy, constantly has me serving. You know what I mean? Zach constantly has me speaking in a lot of programs, which I love to do, to give back, like all you guys said, give back so free, giving to you. But when we talked about coming up here, representing alumni, the first person I thought about outside of myself, my man talked about selflessness instead of selfishness. Right? The first person I thought about was my baby Nicole. And my eyes were watery in the beginning of this program when Nicole came in, and my spirit called out to her, and I held her like this, and I just told her, I said, Mommy, when Zach called me about this event, all I could think about was you, because, listen, Nicole is not just a great messenger. Nicole is an inspiration to a lot of women, not only to women that know her, but she's a motivation, inspiration to people that don't even know her. you're doing the work, if you're serving God the way you're supposed to be serving God, you will become somewhat popular. And it's not a cocky or arrogant thing. It's just that this woman has exemplified the time that she has been clean, what a true, grateful, recovering addict she really is. And her gratitude speaks when she cares and when she shares with other people. And I gave her a gentle kiss on the cheek. It was a warm, gentle kiss. It was a spiritual, gentle kiss. And it was a meaningful, wakeful, gentle kiss, just to show how much I care, right, and how much I believe in Nicole. And just like Zach said, you guys are gonna be moved. I'm not trying to blow her head up, man, but she don't take that like that anywhere, because that's how she carries her humility. But when she speaks, she definitely brings out the energy of God in the building. So I just want to say all that about my baby, you know what I mean? Because she's the shh to me. You are, babe. And I love you. I know you love me, and I'm glad we're friends. But more importantly, I'm glad we're brothers and sisters in recovery. All right, so please help me welcome one of the most successful people coming out of Sojourners, Mr. Nicole Smith Beck.
Yes, sir. My name is Nicole. How y'all doing? I've been called a junkie, identified as an addict, and I learned that I'm a child of God's, right? That was so kind of moving for me to hear somebody talk that long positive about me. Thank everybody that shared their honesty and their truth. It takes a lot of courage. Thank you, Zach, for having a speaker jam like this. Open my eyes to the things that are available in Delaware, right? So we can refer and we could sit back and assist people in different programs so that they can get to know God. That's a beautiful thing. Yes, I'm nervous, right? I pray, God, that I can decrease, that you can increase. In the name of Jesus, amen. I started off doing drugs at 13. I shot dope. I stuck my arm out. It wasn't for entertainment purposes. I wasn't trying to connect with crowds. I wasn't trying to be popular. It was because I had a very traumatic childhood, and it made me detached. And I don't know if anybody has ever done drugs like that. I didn't do drugs to run around and party. I did drugs so that I could be numb, period. And the drugs I did was called more. I did all of them. Anything I was big and bad enough to do, I tried. And to be honest with you, I didn't even like God. I didn't think he was listening, no way. So I didn't give him no real respect. I tried several different times to get clean. And I always, let me just be real with y'all, I always got clean when the money ran out. That's when I got clean, keeping it real. You know, I came up with a master plan when I was broke. I'd be like, I'm going to get it together this time. You know what I mean? And I was always a chameleon. I was always a survivor. I was always somebody who could fit in. I could be Puerto Rican. I could be a white girl just slightly black. I could be a black girl that was slightly white. I could fit in anywhere that required me to fit in. So I was a people pleaser. I was manipulative. I was conniving, and I was a bona fide Oscar-winning liar. I could convince you of anything. I was an actor without getting paid. I was really good at acting until I stumbled into the program of Narcotics Anonymous, and I didn't even believe that Narcotics Anonymous people were real. They sounded too good. You know what I mean? I was just like, when you from the street, I wasn't blessed to have what the people call family. My grandmama died when I was 16, but I was homeless at the age of 14, unfortunately. They kicked me out, my other set of grandparents. My mother and my father had overdosed together, and my sets of grandparents did their best to try to raise me. So my family taught me how to shoot dope, the one set of grandparents and my uncles and all of them, and my other set of grandparents was from down south. And they tried to take me to church and invite me to a Holy Spirit thing, and I wasn't into that. I wasn't inviting no spirit up in me. And I was like, nah, I don't need that. Just pray for me, because it was like they was, doing all that stuff, from down south. And I was just nah, we ain't doing that. And so I was around religion. I want to say that, the other religion they taught me was Islam, because my granddaddy and them was from Pakistan. And I was not a submissive type of little girl. I wasn't disciplined and submissive. So I was very much rejected and disciplined in that religion, so I didn't like that religion. And other religion, the Baptist, Holy Spirit-filled type of thing, they kept on praying for me and trying to lay hands on me, So I didn't feel a part of. And when I had got kicked out at the age of 14 years old, when you get rejected as a child on that level, not in the mirror, not from one relative, but when the family say they don't want no more to do with you, something happens, and I can't explain it. You know what I mean? Something inside of me no longer wanted them, and I no longer wanted people. I no longer wanted anything. I wanted to be alone because I felt safer alone. So when you existing by yourself, you do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, because ain't nobody going to tell on you. I ain't gonna go to police and tell on me. I was not the one to call 911 and say, I did this, come get me. That's not my story. My story is that I did everything that was degrading, despicable. I didn't have self-worth. I know nobody in here is like that, though. I didn't recreationally do drugs. I needed to do them. And if that meant busting you upside your head, that's what I did. I took to violence because then you didn't have to touch me. I'm talking about fear so deep, man. They say don't mess with nobody that's scared. Don't fight nobody that's scared because they can hurt you. And that's the truth. I was scared. I lived in so many different states. I didn't even realize how many states I lived in until I did my step 4. I was like a gypsy in my mind, but what I was a runner, right? Because we learned how to get honest. When, I'm going to just fast forward, because like I was everywhere from California. I came to, I ended up in Philadelphia by way of Arkansas. And I was living in Cherry Valley, but I was hustling out of Little Rock. And so I was just tired, So I was going to go to Philly because I heard about the recovery thing. So I wanted to go to the recovery house because, see, their rent was only $250. I told you I was always a smart one. You know what I mean? So their rent was $250 and everybody else's rent was like $600. So I was like, nah, I'm going up in the recovery house. They don't know no better. You know what I mean? And so I went to the recovery house with the cash, and of course they accepted me. And I wanted my own room. And this girl, I had to share the room with her. And I was like, oh no, bitch, you getting up out of here. So that took place, and still with my behavior, still with my mindset, right? And I'm sharing that because that's really where I'm gonna go at with this, that my behavior, all right? And I did, forgot to tell y'all I wasn't even clean. I wasn't getting clean to live nowhere. You crazy. Every time it came time to pee, I was like, I can't, right? So I started paying people for their pee. So anyway, but they did introduce me, because you had to go to the Narcotics Anonymous meeting while you was living in the house, whatever. So I went, and it was like something in me wanted that. You know what I mean? So I became a part of Narcotics Anonymous. Not at that time, because I still got, kicked out the house eventually, whatever. And I had went down Lehigh a little bit ways in Philly, and I got my own place, and I still was kind of going to the meetings, and something clicked. And I became a part of Narcotics Anonymous and took the same person to the fellowship. I was still all about it. I was about the recovery. I was about the literature. I could always read. It started making sense. It made me feel good to sound like them on a positive level. Spiritual principles kept me safe from religion, so I was okay with the spiritual principle thing. I could apply it and then call you out when you wasn't. I felt, what I'm saying, it empowered you. You know what I mean? True story. And, in step 3, they teach us how to get with God. We make a conscious decision to turn our will and our care. We made the conscious decision to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood him. Is that how it go? Right. I'm nervous, so sometimes my mind skip. So when you make a decision to turn your life over to God, it's different. So I'm going to share with you what was shared with me by my sponsor. There was 3 frogs on a log. Pay attention, y'all. 3 frogs on a log. 2 of them decide to jump off. How many frogs are left on the log? You must be in recovery, right? I said 1, because, I wasn't in recovery that time, So she said, Nicole, I'm going to say it again. There were 3 frogs on a log. 2 decided to jump off. How many frogs are on the log? I said 1. Can you count? She said, baby, just because you decide to do something don't mean that it's done. Recovery is action. So when you decide to get with God, have action with it. And it blew my mind. So I sat there, it's quiet, because, somebody shuts you down like that, you just shut up. I do. I mean, like, I had to go through, she thinks she all that. Like, she could have just said that, But I heard her later on that evening. So I was trying to get with God, and then I had a child. Because I was, somebody told me I was pretty. I wanted to become sexual. My parts filled out. And I had sex. Of course, we don't do that. And so I had sex. And I got pregnant and he got ghosts. But I had family all of a sudden. I need to mention to y'all, I don't have family. I was very much alone. Very much alone in my addiction after the age of 4. When my grandmama died in North Carolina from cancer, I was by her bed. And it ate her, and it ate her, and it ate her. And she kept talking about God and Jesus. And she said, baby, cancer is what they told me I had, but I know I got God. And I was like, what? Woman, you dying. She was like, and that stuff is what you do. It's not who you are. And I stayed with her until her last breath. And I went full-blown junkie level after she died. Because I felt like that was the last person that ever cared about me. And I was very much alone. I wasn't alone because I didn't call my relatives. I wasn't alone because I had family that no longer wanted me to come to their house. I listen real good to all y'all. Y'all blessed. Y'all are blessed to have people in your life, man. Even the people that's hurt, you're blessed. They know you. They know you. I didn't have nobody. When I woke up in hospitals, my name was Jane Doe. Listen, my name was Jane Doe. I was alone. So when I got into Narcotics Anonymous, I felt like I was a part of. So I went full throttle. And my behavior was indicative of how I lived. You know, you don't need to know my address for what. I did tell you my first name. And as you know, Zach said Nicole Smith Bay. And the reason I say this is if anything happens to me, you can feel free to visit me in the hospital, and you can say you my family to visit. Because I know what it is not to have any. I know what it is for people to call me and say, I'm thinking about you now, right? But let me get to the story. So I had a baby, and God transitioned my baby while I was clean. Took my baby home to heaven. And it rocked my world because, again, God wasn't listening to me, right? He didn't hear me. He didn't care about me. I was reading in the Bible all the things that God could do. He could heal. You're talking about God. He could heal. He didn't heal my child. My child was born with congenital heart failure and a mutated heart. I couldn't see that she was suffering. I just felt like I wanted her here because I'm selfish, right? So all this came about, and I was staying clean because, you know, I kept going to the meetings, and we learned how to sound like everybody. That's what a lot of programs do. They teach us how to sound like they sound. And I sounded like they sounded, right? True story. Then turn around and you could fake the funk. I mean, I'm going to talk about me. I faked the funk until I had no choice but to break, right? And it would happen during a Mother's Day. Somebody came up to me and said, Happy Mother's Day to me. And I said, I ain't no mother. She was like, yes, you are. I know you're a mother. And I said, you can't be a mother to a dead baby. I'm not no mother. And she said, you always going to be a mother. And when she said that, that thing split my heart in half. And I used with 8.5 years clean. But God. And when you using to die, it's a different level. So I was smoking some weed. Somebody put some fentanyl in it, and I died on Broad Street. I overdosed. I dropped. Boom. I was dead. And some stranger in the car saw people trying to take my tennis off my feet and called 911, and they started Narcaning me and IV'd me with Narcan, and I ended up in a coma because all my organs was, you know, dead. Well, flatlining. They weren't operational is what the paperwork say. And so when I woke up from the coma, I felt God. I felt God. I didn't think about God. I felt him. And the doctors, when you don't have family or you don't have anybody, they kind of orchestrate what they want to be done to you, right? And so the medical team had asked me if I was willing to relocate. And I was like, yeah, but I still couldn't walk, right? So then I learned that the people that were in Narcotics Anonymous, because I'm going to tell it all, right? They decided to go through my apartment since I was dead and take all my stuff. They said that they ain't want it out on the curve. So I'm homeless, right? Can barely walk. Because when I fell over, so my foot stayed planted, but my body went over, so my heel completely, you know, my ankle completely broke. And I couldn't use this arm, you know, because you fall, boom, and with the weight of my body, I broke things. And I had to go to rehabilitation to learn how to walk again. And then after I was limping, I got driven to Sojourners. That's what Sojourners received all of that. 30-something years of. So they had the nerve. I was there for 2 days and gonna tell me to check the chore list. Listen, I ain't telling no lie. I looked at Derek, I said, wait a minute, what you say your name is? He was like, my name's Derek, and go check the chore list, your name on there. And you gotta do your chore every day. You living in here, ain't you? And he just walked away. I was like, Slim tripping. So I went up there to see if my name was on the chore list, and sure enough, it was on there 3 times. So I go over to the, desk. I said, why did you give me 3 chores? He said, what else you got to do? You a blackout. Listen, I was heated with that man. Then they made me wake up. And so they did have coffee, but they ain't had no sugar. So I was pissed about that. Then the brother, he gave me some sugar, but I let him know, I had major attitude with the brothers. I was like, look, don't think that because you giving me no sugar that you going to get some. And he was like, girl, please, nobody want you. Like, whatever. And so I learned, right, that they do look out for you there. You know what I'm saying, Dreamer? You know how it is. Don't lie. And so turn around, and I had to go to this class called Out of Poverty. Did I stutter? It's called Out of Poverty. You had to graduate from that class in order to look for a job. So I'm living in a shelter. I am going to get clothes out of a clothing closet of donations. Some of them was in plastic bags. You hear me? And I was glad to be able to go into the clothing closet. Pat was like, what? Can I go, Miss Michelle? And I'm running to the, I was like, I can fit this. She said, Nicole, you can't fit that. Put that down. I can fit this. No, you can't. Put it down. Right? I'm serious. So that was my wardrobe, the clothing closet. And the whole hit was that the only place we went was to the Narcotics Anonymous meeting together and to the Out of Poverty class and to the courtyard. That's it. So a guy there, he was living there for a minute, and he said, I'm going to get you some cigarettes. He heard my little story or whatever. I don't know, but he gave me a pack of cigarettes. So my story, I started hustling the cigarettes because everybody didn't have cigarettes, and I ain't had no money. I wanted to go to the store. You know what I mean? So I'm like, look, I'm selling cigarettes for $1. You want a cigarette? Got a cigarette. I got $1. So I was coming up with the dollars. You know what I mean? But I told this guy no because he only had 75 cents. And he went and ran and told, staff. So I got pulled up and written up and was like, you cannot sell cigarettes. It's like selling drugs, Nicole. I was like, what? So you let us do drugs every day? Because we out there in the courtyard, and I just was going in. And then the lady who taught Out of Poverty said, Nicole, God is waiting on you. And I said, waiting on me to do what? She said, waiting on you to start listening. And I said, he ain't saying nothing. And she said, how you know? So I started reading the book again, the basic text again. I took the we and made it an I. I got a sponsor. I redid step work. I started getting the Bible, and I started reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John so that I could understand and take it personal. Jesus. I got the gift of life. I got a second chance. I got a second chance. I ain't talking about what I earned, man. The literature says that when you are successfully clean, that we are considered miracles. I am a miracle. Don't nobody got to tell me that I'm a miracle. I'm a miracle because I know that I ain't supposed to be here. I didn't earn my seat. It wasn't nothing I said so slick that I deserve what God has given me on this day called life. The most that I've ever done in my little power, because I learned I'm powerless over everybody, was shut up. That's what I did that was the most powerful thing. And when I shut up, I stopped thinking. God help me with that. Because I used to cuss you out with my mouth shut. And God used to say, God, I'm... and he helped me. He helped me calm down my mind, man, and start listening. And I started hearing love. And I started having empathy. And I started working. Because I graduated out of poverty, goddammit. I was tired of reading, and I'm poverty because in this situation. Like, I was tired of that. So I learned the budget. They taught me that. I learned how to sit back and manage time. They taught me that in Out of Poverty. Time management, right? Things I must earn. I'm earning my time. Service is a part of breathing. How grateful am I? Do you want the clothes off my back? Here you go, because I got some more over here. I learned that. When you shopping out of a closet and them clothes come out smelling like mildew and you happy because they giving you Tide and you can wash them. Hear me? I was grateful for my chores. After I went to work, they still gave me chores. Did you hear me, Zach? They were serious about that. They was like, well, when you get your apartment, you're going to have to clean it. They didn't play no games. I went to college in Sojourners, right? Still in college. You know, I went to work 8 hours, went to college. You got to do 3 hours to be in class. You know what I mean? To get there back, then the class is an hour and a half. Come back to Sojourners. They said, Nicole, you better do your chores. I'm going to tell you how serious this thing is, man. Every week I would fill out a pass. You had to fill out a pass and ask permission to have a pass, right? And I would fill out my pass. I'm going, to the mall, right? And it was so that way it could be a long one. You could be like 10 hours out of the building on Friday, Saturday, or either Sunday. So I filled out my pass for every single day of the weekend. Here's my hand to God, I ain't never go nowhere. That's what Sojourners taught me. Just because you got and they passed me. My name would be up on that list every single week. And they said, if you ain't got nowhere to go, why go? And I learned that I could have the privilege of going somewhere, but is it healthy for me to go? Sojourners helped me to budget my money, so I was tired of catching a bus. So they let you save up your money so long as you purchase a vehicle, you can have one. So I purchased my vehicle at Sojourners. In order for me to purchase my vehicle, you have to also have license, and you also have to have insurance to park it at Sojourners. And so I did that. And then I started saving up for the apartment. And then I got scared. I had a cancer scare, right? Miguel came. Miguel, no. That's a brother. Kissed me gently on the cheek. Didn't it sound all romantic? I was like, oh, he is old. But the truth of the matter is, that's the man that came and picked me up after my biopsy for my breast. He was in the waiting room. True story. The nurses told me. He was saying, I need to go back there with her. Can I go back there with her? They was like, no, you're going to have to wait out here, sir. Like, you know what I mean? Because he was going to be there. Because he know I ain't got no family. After I come out, boobs swollen, all this gauze all over the place, he like, come on, sis, we going to go eat. I'm taking you Red Lobster. I was like, man, don't nobody feel like eating. But we sat there and laughed. He said, order whatever you want. Just eat. I was like, I want to go to sleep. He said, eat, girl. Get some fish. Get a lobster. I was like, all right, Miguel. I moved out of Sojourners. I got a job. I was a job in the field. I work at a acute psychiatric hospital called Meadowwood. And so I talked about me, and they say I'm a success story. I am no longer surviving. I want to say recovery in your life, change in your life helps us to breathe. Breathe. I ain't talking about mess. I ain't talking about with the anger. I ain't talking about with the pain and the offense and the betrayal. I'm talking about the freedom and the liberty of God. But you got to get there by reading the Word of God. You can't get my God unless you start reading about Him. You understand what I'm saying? You can get saved like that. But delivery and deliverance and the things that present the freedom, you get in the recovery aspect to learn what to take to God so that you can change. If I could fix me, don't you think I would have? Come on. So by me working at Meadowwood Acute Psychiatric Hospital, a lot of people that decided to leave the program, because, they got it. I got a job now. I don't need this place. Y'all niggas homeless. I ain't homeless. But you living there, right? But whatever. And unfortunately, I see him at work. You know me. Need a cigarette, good brother? Welcome back. You made it. Because they dying out there, man. they dying. This thing take body limbs now. So I got a promotion to be activity coordinator, and that blessed me to engage with the different programs and be more engaging with the clients that are in there. And a lot of what we suffer from is the disease of addiction. I heard somebody mention it, right? I don't mind mentioning it. The disease of addiction and mental health. Let me share that. Because all the trauma I've been through as a child, I needed a therapist. And therapy is a very good idea for Nicole Smith to the Bay. Let me share that. So I can know how to get to God and keep him, right? So Sojourners is an awesome program. I still can walk up there. They do got, a whole bunch of stuff going on all the time. I don't be trying to participate with all that mess. Because for one, they say I'm alumni, so I got to pay. And I be like, I'm still real frugal. I still save all my money. I only spend the money of the bills. All the rest of my stuff is savings account. So I ain't lying. You never know when you're going to need it, period. And you ready? Am I done? Because I could talk forever, Zach. You better shut it down. All right. And that's right, bro. Keep it real. And so I just wanted to, share with y'all that I come from out of Sojourners. That was the first homeless shelter place that I've ever been in my life. I've never in my life had to share a toilet with women. Never. Never. Had to wash down a shower before you use it. And grateful for the shower. I was so happy to sit my behind in the tub, you just don't know. The stuff that we take for granted, I'm talking about. For real. They provide you with lotion that's in it and body wash. You know what I mean? They gave me Christmas. I never knew what Christmas was. I only saw it on movies. Nobody, how you send yourself a Christmas gift? I never had a birthday cake until I was at Sojourners. Because nobody ever bought my birthday cakes, I was alone. So I'm so grateful for the people that are still in my life that are Sojourner. The Sheilas that literally I'm communicating with every single day. Every day she's a part of my life. The Michelle's still a part of my life. Derek, he let his niece be a part of my life. You know what I'm saying? Derek. You know what I mean? Edgar, he's an alumni. He just sat back and texted me. He said, Nicole, I love you and pray that you do good when you share, even though he couldn't be here. People care about me. Zach will text me in the morning like something, from out of a devotional. And I said, thank you for even thinking about me, man. Because that's the miracle that we have each other. We got each other. Don't nobody understand our pain like we do. And we are healers naturally with a hug, with love. Because we deserve that. We need that. Okay. I'm trying to wrap. Oh, sugar. I'm trying to wrap. I can talk forever. Y'all just don't know.
A good preacher closes 3 times now.
Yup, but.
Hey, thank you. Give it up for my sister. Hey, I told you if you stay for the last 3-4 speakers, you're going to get touched now. At home, you felt that, didn't you? I know you did. So this next speaker, listen, sometimes you don't know the miracle till you walk in the Spirit, till you get that helper's high. You get committed to your commitments. I was walking into Kirkwood Detox Saturday night. Commitment that I have is by far my favorite commitment, Kirkwood Detox. We love you. Been there forever. Talking about changing the building, it might break my heart. And I walk in there one night, and I swear, I walk in and I see this brother sitting there. And I thought he was dead. You ever had that happen? You see somebody go, I thought you were dead, man. And I started crying. And I hugged him. And everybody in the room was like, why is he crying? This brother was the first guy that introduced me to narcotics as far as how to use them to cover up a wound, to get some money to feel better. And he was actually the original OG that I knew, first guy I really knew that did heroin. And when I seen him sitting there in his 50s, man, and to see him now today, and we got to sit in that same institution together, what was it, a month ago? Side by side, carry the message of recovery. And I'll tell you, man, nothing warms my spirit more than to see a resurrection story. Help me welcome Bob W., man. Come on, baby. I got you.
Oh, all right.
My brother. Love you.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. Let me see. Let me see. Is the microphone good? All right, here we go. Me coming behind that last speaker, man, that's a powerful message. Let me see. Where can I start? I'm Bobby. I'm a grateful, bottom-feeding, dope-fiend, recovering addict today. I'm gonna try to share, just try to pinpoint, man. Rod, I hear a lot of people say over the years, you know, they knew that they were an addict before they picked up, whether it was a drink or a drug. I think one of my main character defects is my immaturity. I learned that at a very early age, and my whole family, all my aunts, my uncles, I don't have no brothers or sisters, I was the only child. My mother, my father, addict or an alcoholic. So addiction runs rampant in my family. So where can I start? Growing up, I had two uncles. One I could care less about, but the other uncle was like my big brother growing up. He was my inspiration. So I learned about shooting heroin at a very early age. I could probably say 11, maybe 12 years old. Not doing it, but just witnessing it. So come to when I turned the age of 18, I go to a party. I just graduated high school out of William Penn. And these guys are passing around this little bag and all. So I get it and I try it. The guy says, "Nah, you don't sniff it, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's not coke." So when I did that, I'll never forget that feeling that I had, that how shy I was. Within the next probably 45 minutes, man, I was talkative. I was, you know, I felt great. You know, so I guess that's where the character started. You know, that's where the immaturity really took off, because I stopped growing mentally, spiritually. I mean, whatever you want to call it. So I'll say this like this. So that's at 18. By the time I'm 20, I end up in jail for, 3 years at that time. There's a lot of prison in the story, but let me go back to say this. As far as recovery programs and resources and outlets, let me see, I did Teen Challenge. I successfully completed that back in 2003. Key, Crest, Turning Point, Courage to Change, ATS. These are all programs in Baltimore. So when I get out of jail in 1998, still the same thing. I had already had relapse in my mind, you know, things like that. Just didn't pick up yet. So, eventually within I'd say about 4 months, I used again. And by that time, finally, I was introduced to using IV drugs, like really with somebody. Even though I had seen it done in front of me, I had always had this fear. Oh, I'll never do heroin, man. I'll never be like that guy there in the alleyway or, you know, out front of a store looking real ragged and all that. Oh, no. Well, come to find out, as soon as that first shot went in me, that was it. My life changed in every fashion that I can think of, because the one big thing that I had to understand was I didn't want to be myself. So that was my way to run. So needless to say, with all that, how I got introduced to like NA and NA, my uncle had moved to Baltimore, and this was back in 2000. He had went down in 2002. So he finally convinced me after 3 years to move down in 2005. So for probably the first year or so, I'm learning the ropes. I'm going to meetings with him. I get a sponsor. I'm working the steps, But it always came a point, though, when it came to getting that 1 year clean, I never made it. I was always the guy getting a 1 day key tag eventually, and I'll get it right. I promise. So for the first 10 years, let's say it like this. Needless to say, I'm strung out in Baltimore. I have no family but my uncle. But see, my uncle was always focused spiritually. I heard it said a month ago, you have to have a new power source. So he was already plugged in. And my selfishness, my self-centeredness, you name it, my way of thinking, you know how we all are. We say, oh, we got this. Yeah, I'll get it, sure. Man, I didn't have shit. I didn't have nothing. For the last 10 years, and this is why I came back to Delaware, the only thing that I was, when you hear somebody call somebody, you say, hey, man, look at that bum right there. I was a derelict. I was a junkie in the alleyway. Wherever I laid my hat, I was a homeless bum. That's all I was. I robbed, stole from everybody. I could never keep friends, no associates, no jobs. You know how you go to work somewhere. You maybe have a job for however long you had it, because being dope sick was more important. So I was one of those addicts, traditional. Oh, well, I got to get my fix, and then I can go to work, and then life is great. Yeah, I can go pay bills. I can be responsible. Yeah, but I'm still standing on that corner, haven't had a shower in 6 months. I'm still eating out of dumpsters and trash cans, robbing old ladies, coming out of stores. What kind of life is that? But I'm successful, though. Yeah, I'm not a bum. I'm not a junkie. No, I just have a problem. No, the problem is me. So finally, after being on the streets for 10 years down there in Baltimore, I had a moment, and this is how I know it was God. This is how I could stand up here, because I'm nervous, but this is how I know for me, because all of our situations are different. Ego, the word ego, how you edge God out. I was visiting my mother. This was in 2021. I came up for 30 days on December 1st. January 3rd, 2022, she takes me back down to Baltimore. So where she drops me off at is under a bridge down there. It's 895. So I was in a house for 30 days, telling myself, yeah, I'll get clean, I'll do this. So when she drops me off, when I go to lay down at night, I can't lay down because I had a hip replacement because of my drug addiction. So the funny thing is, this is how God is so funny. He's humorous, and I know this was God talking to me, because right where I'm trying to lay down at, all of a sudden it starts raining. I have a roll of trash bags, so I take one and put it on. I take the other one and put it over me. So when I go to lay down, I still can't get comfortable. Now here's the funny part. About a half a block away is Johns Hopkins Hospital. And I just keep looking for like 5 hours. I'm sitting there saying, there's got to be something that's got to change here. I know what it is, but how do I get off the street? But I keep looking at this hospital. So finally, a power greater than myself, not me, because it wasn't me, because I knew that morning I could go to a coffee shop to where I have a friend who owns it, and I could get a couple dollars. But needless to say, finally, as I'm looking at this hospital, I said, you know what? I said, hell with it. I'm going to go. I'm going to walk in, and I hope they admit me, because right there, this is how I'm going to start my journey to get clean. So I do it. A couple hours later, boom, they admit me. And then they admitted me. So I'm there for, 2 weeks. So they released me January 19th, 2022. I get out from there. I went to Kirkwood Detox. I said, well, you know what? I got a dirty urine anyway. I was on Dilaudid. I was on 70 milligrams of methadone, because I would only take it every 2 days. I didn't want to develop a habit because I didn't have a plan when I got released. So I said, well, my urine's dirty anyway. It's going to come up with opiates. So I get up there. The 22nd, they discharged me because they got my paperwork messed up, and they couldn't find a long-term solution for me because everywhere I went, I told people, I said, look, I need to go away somewhere for at least a year. I said, you know, I've been doing this for decades. I said, so I need that much help. So I go to Meadowwood. So needless to say, I went down. I had a friend of mine who talks to my mother. They went and got me a bag of heroin or whatever it was at that time, that xylazine or whatever the crap is that they're doing now. So I did that and went to Meadowwood. So January 23rd, 2022 is my clean date. So I got accepted in there January 22nd. But needless to say, it's just, I was in there for a little over 2.5 weeks. And so that's how with running into Zach, as I was sitting there, you know, it was like he said, you know, how you run into people and they say, oh man, we thought you were dead. It seems like everybody that I run into today up here that knows me, you know, that's like the very same thing. And they say, you know, miracles happen every day. Yeah, I'm a walking miracle. I believe it. I strongly believe it. Even though I got a limp and I just had surgery on my foot, you know, I'm trying to convince the doctors, look, I'm allergic to Percocets. You don't need to give them to me. And and I sit here and I hear people sharing and I hear people sharing. I had to understand this for me, that God was always there, no matter what. Always, 100%. And the funny thing is like, you know, you hear it in the rooms, like there's two cliches that I really listen to. It says it in basic text, page 107. The last sentence in the last paragraph is, with each day, more will be revealed. More will be revealed. And then the other one is acceptance. Like, you gotta, like, to accept something, like we as men, I don't like to accept the fact maybe I'm wrong. I don't like it when somebody criticizes me. Oh, you're a chump, you're this and that. No. God has been there the whole time. God has always been there. It's just me that turns the light switch on and off. Okay, God. You know how they call it a foxhole prayer? Oh, God, look, you know, get me out of this, you know, blah, blah, blah. Now, I heard somebody else say it, humility. I told Zach a while back, I said, look, I got to get more involved with my personal recovery on a more spiritual level. And I says, I got to come out of my shell of being home, because I can know everything, but I'm the dumbest person on the planet. Because I have a problem that I like to intellectualize everything. I want to read everything front to back. I want to write a term paper on the 12 steps. But the one thing that I do keep in the back of my mind is tradition 3. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. But see, in life really is all them cliches, like one day at a time. Like for me, if you keep it simple, it's really the truth. You can only do so much in a 24-hour period. Just keep the truth simple. It's a one day at a time life. And then when you have God, you know, making the decisions for you, your life will change. I would never, I could say this, I would never think in the back of my mind, the last speaker jam I was at was, I think it was March 17, 2009 in Baltimore City. And I only went in there to go see my uncle so I can borrow $50 to go cop. And, you know, and watching all the people, you could see how recovery, most of all, how God works in people's lives. Because when I walk in there, everybody's like, hey, Bob, what are you doing, man? You know, oh, it's great to see you. Oh, yeah, you too. You know, just there for, you know, a selfish reason. But that's why, like today, man, like right now, I sit home, do a lot of reading. Like I was saying just a second ago, I got to get more involved. I'm not trying to sound selfish or nothing, but me isolating and sitting home, I go to meetings, but I do everything out of state. So I got to get more plugged in with resources here. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I haven't worked now for what, 4 months. I got let go from a deadbeat job down the street, but I'm not going to talk about that part of it because I got to work a step for that still. But yeah, it just, when Zach offered, for me to come in to speak and everything, I just really never thought that I would be in a speaker jam, just sharing my experience. I never thought that I would be sitting here talking about myself because I'm a very good listener. I love to listen. I just never thought, like, damn, Bob, you're going to get sober. I'm one of those ones, too. Like, how do you live life without drugs? Or how do you live life with the drug use? So what do you got to do? It's God. It's plain and simple. Good, orderly direction. Somebody told me that in the Key program years ago. I think it was Reverend Derek Johnson. But, yeah, man, like I said, though, it's great to be here. I'm very thankful that you guys are taking time out just to listen to what I have to say. And with that, I'll keep coming back.
We're going to need a lot more of you, Bob.
Nervous, thank you. Oh, yeah. Should have brought a cane. That's right. Thank you.
My man, Bobby Waters, OG from way back. Woo, OG. That's the evidence of God right there. So this next sister, I got introduced to her a while back. She's a Lyman House alumni, and Lyman House standalone program, 12-step fellowship, 50-some years. I don't know, 57 years. Adapting with the times, right? So I got a brother on the board. Some of you guys know Jim Summers. He ain't here. He's with his family, his first church. We were aware of where he's at. But he said, I was at this speaker jam, and I was talking to this sister outside. And I said, oh, yeah? Yeah, man, she just really got a passion. She's working in the prison system. And I said, oh, yeah? I got experience with that, right? The Road to Recovery program. Sometimes in this life, we go in with good intentions to help people. Anybody know what I'm talking about? We're like, man, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to help these people. And God helps us, right? I cannot wait for you to hear what she has to say about this situation. But I heard it from her sitting on the Lyman House steps, the new treatment facility, and it rocked my socks. So help me welcome Haley, y'all. True story.
Love you too. I have little legs, so bear with me. So my name is Haley, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I'm like super nervous and probably doubly nervous because my dad is streaming this right now. And you'll hear why that's kind of a miracle for me. So yeah, like Zach said, I'm a Lyman House alumni. My sobriety date is 10/10/19. Yeah. Not my first one, but hopefully, God willing, it'll be my last. Just to keep it short into why, I don't know why I am the way I am. I no longer try to figure it out. I just am myself. But I'm the child of two really young heroin addicts, right? So like late 90s, and my dad's watching, so this is embarrassing. But so the day I was born, my mom and my dad were doing their thing. Crashed the car. My dad had warrants. He ran. My mom had drugs in her system. I was born. And that's how I came into this world, right? Into chaos. And so growing up, right, I saw a lot of stuff I shouldn't have seen. My dad spent most of my life incarcerated. And my mom was in and out of treatment on the street. She'd rob us a few times. She'd get custody of us. She'd lock us in motel rooms while she did her thing. She'd leave us in parks while she went to cop, like just stuff. And the family that ended up taking me, my mom's parents, really brutal alcoholics. So basically any type of abuse, I've been through it. And I always had this hope, though, that like my grandma would take us to church. We'd go to the Methodist church. I'm from Jersey. And she'd always say, just pray for your mom to get better, and she'll come, and you'll have a life. Because I used to tell everyone I wasn't a real little girl because I didn't have parents. And, you know, my mom died of an overdose, homeless on the streets in East Orange, New Jersey, when I was 8 years old. And I remember when they told me that they found her body, they didn't even write time of death, right? Because this is not like in the period of time when the opioid epidemic is happening to like wealthy white people, right? So people don't care. And my mom was found in a vacant lot in the middle of January, frozen dead, and they just wrote body found. I remember the police coming and telling us that they had found her, and I didn't cry. I couldn't cry. I'm 8 years old. I couldn't cry. But it kind of like started this idea of just like, yo, I got no one. That was like my last hope. I was like, my mom was gonna get clean. She was gonna come get me. We'd find my dad, and then I'd have a life. And from that moment forward, like when Nicole was talking about using to die, that's how I've always been, right? Like I've been a blackout drinker since the beginning. I've never really been one to like, I'm not trying to party. I'm not trying to have a good time. I'm not trying to be your friend. I need to like feel something. I need to feel something different. I just don't want to be here. So my drinking, my using has always been kind of one for destruction. We don't really need to talk too deeply about like what really happened. I got sober pretty young. I felt like my life meant nothing. People treated me like my life meant nothing. Everyone in my town knew my parents, so people looked at me like my life didn't matter. So I set out to prove to you that you were wrong. So I got a perfect score on my SAT. I was a fantastic student, right? I did my thing on the side. My brother's trapping. I'm drinking at bars. I'm 15. I have boobs in Jersey. You can do that. And I got myself a full ride to college, and I was going to be the first one in my family to go to college. But I walked onto the UVM rugby team. I went to University of Vermont, broke my shoulder, same old story, got addicted. Something I swore I'd never do, and it brought me to places I thought I'd never be. And I'm like 20 years old, and I'm living in a motel room with my drug dealer boyfriend. I remember I came to his last day I ever did heroin. He had shattered my eye socket. He thought he killed me, so he left my ID next to my body. And I looked in the mirror. I looked just like my mom did before she died. My mom died when she was 29, and I was only 20 years old. And I haven't touched heroin since that day, but things happen, right? I went to AA. I didn't tell anyone about me. I didn't want you to look at me. I didn't want you to know me. People tried to hug me. Men tried to touch me. I did not like it. A man tried to give me my 24-hour coin and a hug, and I told him I'd slit his throat if he ever came near me again. And that's just kind of how I've been. And I ended up getting stabbed at about 2.5 years sober, and I relapsed after that. And that brought me down to a place that I didn't think was possible. I didn't touch heroin, but I was blackout drinking again. And I don't know what happened. I just woke up in Maryland one day. I don't know if that's happened to anyone, but I woke up in rehab, and I was like, where are my clothes? Where's my car? I was drinking in Jersey City I think 12 hours ago. They're like, you were drinking in Jersey City 48 hours ago, and you're in treatment. And I was like, okay, where's all my stuff? And I still don't know where a lot of my stuff went. My car was an impound, though. I eventually found that. And I was an RCA, and they sent me to Women's Lyman House. No one else wanted me. No one else wanted to have me. My family had written me off. And my family, if you admit you have a problem, all right, bye. So me going to treatment was kind of a no-no for them. And so I ended up in long-term treatment in Wilmington in Lyman House, and I hated every minute of it. Everyone's smiling at me. They're all so kind, right? I have no clothes. They're giving me clothes. And I was like, I don't want your program. I don't want anything. I was like, honestly, I agreed to come here because it's closer to an Amtrak station, because I'm going to hop on that Amtrak station, sell whatever I can find, and I'm going to go up to Patterson, and I'm just going to shoot dope in my neck and die. That was my plan. I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be alive. I hate you. I hate myself. There's no hope for me. There's no God in my life. There's nothing. And they gave me the worst roommate ever, and she, my first day there, she's like, I found my mom dead, found my dad dead, and I was like, damn, I can't have you find me dead. And so, I don't know what happened, and this is where I know God was working in my life at that point in time. I was like, let me just see what I do, what I can do, and if I give it a shot. They tried to kick me out at about 60 days because they were like, Haley, you're a miserable person to be around, and I am. I will tell you everything I think that's wrong with you, right? I'll tear you to shreds because I don't want to look at myself. I hate myself. I hate you, right? I'm angry. I want to fight you. That's how I've been my whole entire life. And I went to go pack up my bags when they said, yo, you got to go. And I was like, I'm probably going to die. And they're like, we know, we don't take that lightly, but you're affecting everyone else around you. Have you ever thought about the way you affect other people? And I said, nah, but F you. And I went upstairs to pack my bags. Really, I was getting my med box because that was the most important thing. And I said my first honest prayer of like, I am probably gonna die and I don't know what I'm doing. And something told me to go downstairs and beg for my bed. And they'd already discharged me, but they allowed me to stay on a very strict contract. And I finished out my stay in Lyman House, right? And I'm so grateful for them changing their minds and allowing me to stay. I did 10 and a half months, and I enjoyed it. I went to their step-down house, and on my first year, and things were changing, right? I started working with a sponsor, right? And I told her I wasn't gonna do the God thing. That didn't work in my life. And someone told me very pointedly that I need to seek relief in God the way I sought relief in the drink, right? Because I told them, I was like, yo, I've prayed before, and then just nothing happened. And they're like, Haley, when you take one shot and you don't get the level of drunk you want to be, what do you do? And I was like, I take more. And she's like, why did you think that you'd pray once and you would feel relief? You have to seek God in that same way. And that clicked with me, and I was like, all right, if I can do that, then maybe I have a chance. And she said, what's the worst thing that happens? You actively try to seek a God in your life and you don't find him, then you just end up back where you were. Or maybe you can find freedom and you can find a life and you can find hope. But what's the worst thing that happens if you just try? And I was like, all right, girl, I got you. And I started trying. And slowly but surely things started changing, and I noticed it. So I play spades. I love spades. It's my favorite thing to do in any facility I'm in. I run that spades table, right? And so we're not very kind to each other when we play spades, right? And I'm down in the Lyman House, and I'm playing spades, and I don't know, man, I'm starting to pray. I have a prayer life going. I'm meditating. I'm still not sure if it's connecting. I'm asking to change. I just want to change. I don't want to be this person anymore. And I walked away from the spades table. I was like, I don't think our jokes are funny anymore. I don't think jokes at other people's expenses are funny anymore. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And that was the first time I noticed that something was actually changing. The only thing that had changed in my life was that I was trying to connect with God. So I keep going forward, right? On my 1 year of sobriety, we found my housemate dead. She had relapsed and she died in the house, and I started doubting God again. And I have this really terrible luck, or I'm actually really highly blessed. Actually, I prefer to look at it that way. But in the height of the pandemic, I caught pneumonia and then caught COVID while I had pneumonia, and I ended up in the ICU for a long time. And I had about a year and 2 months sober. And I'm starting to suffocate on my own lung pus. That sounds so gross, but that's just what it is, right? And they're putting me on regular oxygen, high flow oxygen, BiPAP, CPAP, next step's a ventilator. Nothing's changing. I'm probably gonna die. And I have this moment in the hospital, and I really kind of felt peace for the first time, where I was like, I've actually had the best year of my life, right? My dad, who I did not have a relationship with, came to see me. He drove 17 hours from Chicago to see me. My dad's been clean for a long time. My dad found God in prison when I was younger, and he turned his life around. And that was my first call when I went to treatment. And I hated the man. I hated him so much. Right? So I had seen my dad. I'd started to build a relationship with him, and I'd started to build a relationship with God, and I'm starting to finally feel at home, something I've never felt in my life. And now I'm dying. And I said, God, thank you so much. And I know it's not up to me if I stay. And the only regret I think I had at that point in time, and I said it, I was like, I know I'm loved. The people in my life now know I love them. I just wish I did more things for other people. I really feel like I've been really selfish. And if I live, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And they got a drug. I guess they approved, I don't know. They gave me remdesivir. I don't even know what that means. But either way, I got off a ventilator pretty quick. I started breathing okay. I lived. Spoiler alert, I lived. I'm here. And I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. And all I had to do was just turn myself to helping other people. So I started sponsoring other women. I started volunteering in my community. I went back to college. I started working in the field. And I've just been trying my best to spread hope to other people. And so about 5 years sober, right? And this is funny. Zach already alluded to it. I started working in the men's prison. I was working at Gander Hill as a counselor. I enjoyed it. My dad found recovery in prison, and I felt like that was the place I needed to be, because I really owed the people that showed up for my dad, right? And I wanted to be a part of that change. And Fun fact, me and COs don't get along. Me and police don't get along. And I guess I made someone angry. I did make someone angry. 2 guards got fired, 1 guard got suspended, and then 2 weeks later I walked into work and I got put in handcuffs. And I was charged with a felony drug charge, and I was insulted and indignant because how dare you accuse me of bringing drugs into a prison? I'm not that dumb, A. And B, I've tried so hard at that point in time to show up for my community and be a positive member of my community, and here they are accusing me of doing the opposite. And thankfully, I have enough people in my life that have been incarcerated, so I knew immediately, lawyer, not talking to you. And I remember I was in holding for a while, and I'm just praying and I'm meditating and I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, whatever happens, it's just what's gonna be. And I'm not gonna act like that there wasn't any fear in there. And they released me. Thankfully, I had an unsecured bail, so I was able to walk out of Troop 1. But they seized my car, they searched my house, they took my phone. The only thing I had was my debit card and my ID. There's that liquor store right across the street. And man, I'm not gonna lie to you, my first thought was like, I'm getting drunk tonight. And I went to go cross the street, and the first thought in my head was, pray. And I prayed to God, and the thought then came into my head of the only phone number I know in Delaware is the Women's Lyman House resident number. So like, let me just go ask these people if I can use their phone and see if anyone picks up. And they picked up, and I was like, put staff on the phone, and I had someone there picking me up off the side of the road within 5 minutes. Lyman House, even as an alumni, right? Like I show up as an alumni, try to help those women, try to help those men. And that period of time, this was in October, by the way, so it's only been a couple months. And the Alumni Network paid my rent because I was struggling to find a job because no one wants to hire a drug and alcohol counselor with a pending felony looking at 5 years in Baylor. They helped me find a job. They fed me every single night. They gave me a place to go. They helped me have a holiday. They supported me through everything. And charges got dropped. There's no evidence to a crime I didn't commit. And man, when I tell you that that was probably the best experience that's ever happened to me. And that's crazy, right? To me, that's crazy. All these things that have happened in my life that I thought were gonna kill me at one time or another, God has used to build me up, to change my life, to be in the perfect position to help someone else. And I just have learned I can't question it, right? I've gotten closer than I've ever been to my family. My dad, oh my God, Dad, I know you're watching. His first piece of advice, I was like, Dad, I just got arrested on my first felony. He's like, welcome to the family, baby. Jury trial. He's like, I've been charged with everything. They've only caught me on a few. Jury trial. And I was like, all right, Dad, thank you for that advice. Still sticks out in my head. Man, if I could, I just wish, man, that I could give this to everyone. Just like this sense of peace that I have, this sense of belonging that I never had in my life, right? I fundamentally hated myself as a person. I had no real evidence to why I should. Early on, my earliest memories were like, I just shouldn't be here. I'm not supposed to be here. And if you had told me that through this process of recovery, losing everything and the things that have happened, that I would find like a sense of like peace in my own skin and this joy in helping other people, I would have called you a liar, right? I still work in the field. I do outreach now. I've stepped down as a counselor. I don't really want to counsel. Mental health is not really my deal. I just want to be helpful. You need food, let me feed you. You need clothes, let me clothe you. You need me to hug you, I got you. I don't like touching people, but it's fine, I will. And you know, I'm just honored to bear witness to the success of other people, right? Like that has just been the greatest joy in my life, is just to show up and watch other people put their lives together and find God. And whether they're at that point in their journey or not, I believe love the addict, whether they want to be clean or not, when they're using, when they're clean at any point in time. And I'm just so grateful to be here, and I'm so honored to have been asked to speak. And I don't want to go over anymore because I really want to hear James. So thanks for letting me share.
Hey, if you sponsor James R., come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Earl, and I'm an addict. Oh, man, I feel bad for you speakers because I'm nervous just doing this little introduction. I'd like to first thank God, man, for this opportunity to have this privilege to come up here and introduce our next speaker. I was doing some service work, right? I've been through the ropes a long time. Like, I know how to finagle the bagel, and I can see when people are ready and when people ain't ready. And I was in Bowling Green, and I ran into a really good friend of mine that I haven't seen in a long, long time, and I could just see the surrender in his eyes. And I knew that there was something in his eyes that he was ready to do whatever it took to come to this side of the road and find a higher power and turn his life around. And it's been a true honor because after Bowling Green, he filed a suggestion, man. He went to another treatment facility. And I ended up running into him about another month later at another treatment facility. And I just continue to see this man grow and show his humility and just continue to blossom. He takes suggestions. He's got a higher power. He's fully surrendered. He works a serious program. He serves through H&I Chair Narcotics Anonymous. And it's just an honor, man. I hope you guys get a great message out of his story that he has to tell. And with that, help me welcome Jimmy R.
Love you too. Must be the chain. Hey everybody, I'm Jimmy, I'm an addict. First, I'd like to thank God for another day clean. I'd like to thank God for everybody that's here. I'm grateful to be here. Earl, thanks for the introduction. Wasn't a Miguel one, but it was still good. It's an honor and privilege to be here today to speak for Firm Foundation for my first time. I went and got this shirt today. Nah, I'm just kidding. Nah, but I'm an alumni for Aquila. My clean date is June 26, 2022. Yeah. But the real reason I'm here today is because I surrendered, right? I didn't just surrender to, treatment or to a 12-step program. I surrendered my will to a higher power, right? Before I got clean, I lived in a tent for 3 years, right? And my whole life since I was 12, I've been in jails and institutions my whole life since I was 12 years old, right? I never thought that I deserved to be clean because that's all I knew, right? I was beaten, abused, I was molested, right? My mother was killed by the guy that she got high with, right? My grandfather died from cirrhosis of the liver, which was like a father to me. I watched him die on hospice, yeah. My grandmother, I watched her die on hospice as well from cancer, right? I had a sister that overdosed and died. My uncle, I watched my Aunt Tracy have a heart attack and overdose and die, right? And just so much more, right? That's all I knew my whole life was destruction. And that was two things I was sure of before I got clean. One, I was going to die an addict, and two, I was going to die on methadone, because that was a very big part of my story as well, right? So June 25th, 2022, I like to say that was the day I surrendered. I didn't know it then, but looking back now after doing some work, that's the day I truly surrendered. Because when I woke up that day in that wet, nasty, moldy tent, I decided again to make a change, right? I was either really going to kill myself that day or I was going to go to treatment again, right? So I woke up, I got out of my tent, and I walked from 273 to the Rockford Center, right? And from there, I was in the same boat again, just like I always was, going in and out of institutions or jail. I'm like, what am I going to do this time? I begged my insurance to get me into another treatment center because I used up all my resources. They didn't really want to pay for me to go somewhere else. And last time I was in Bowling Green, I got kicked out for having drugs and using in there. But fortunately, I was accepted back to Bowling Green, and this was the first time that when I was in treatment that I stayed to myself. I really wanted it, right? So I completed Bowling Green for the first time. I was there about 10, 11 times before, and I finally successfully completed it. And that's where I had seen Earl, right? And it was weird because I'm out there, I'm smoking, you know, and I see this guy pull up with a kayak in the back of his truck. He gets out the car, he's dressed nice, he got a big chain on. I'm like, is that Earl? Right? I recognized him, but I didn't know the man that got out the car, right? You could see the glow on him, the recovery. I'm like, wow. And I heard somebody say before, like, I didn't even know Earl was alive, let alone doing this good. Right? So I'm like, yo, what's up, Earl? What are you doing, man? And, you know, he's hit me with the suggestions, and I couldn't stand it, you know, the stick and stay, trust the process. Right? And that's when it was suggested to me, yo, why don't you taper off methadone while you're here? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, I'm feeling good. I'm about, 3 weeks in. I got all the other stuff out of me. I maintained all my methadone. So I walked my jolly self up to the doctor and said, yo, let's start this, right? But I didn't know they did 5 milligrams a day, right? But it was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me, right? The best thing that ever happened to me. Even though I didn't sleep no more than 5 minutes for 32 days, I remember that. Right? And I know my roommates probably still talk about me to this day because I was crawling from the bed, pooping and throwing up and laying in that nasty shower. Right? But I am so grateful for all that. Right? Because come to the end of my stay, I reach out, Earl, what do I do now, dude? I'm hurting, I'm sick, I go back, I use. The last thing I wanted to hear was long-term treatment. Right? But I was willing, like he said, I fully surrendered, man, I'll do whatever. All right, let's go. They signed me up for Aquila. Now, this is the first time I ever been to Aquila. And this was the first time in my life since I was about 8, 9 years old that I had 100% of clarity of what I wanted for Jimmy, not for my kids, right? Because every other time I was in jail or an institution, it's like, I do this for my kids or probation officer or the judge, the job, the baby mom. For the first time in my life, I remember, what do I want for myself, right? Because I remember the prayers in that tent every night was to pray to God that I would just die. Right? And then I seen how the prayers changed, right? I started to pray. I was like, let me get through one more day, right? Give me strength, right? And then the prayers I wake up is thank you. Thank you for waking me up today, right? Thank you for letting me feel the gratitude to having another chance to live, right? So come to the end of my stay at Aquila. It was suggested to go to into sober living, right? So I got accepted into an Oxford house. I'm still in that Oxford house to this day, right? So I moved into the Oxford house October 6th of 2022, and I was in H&I November, the next month. I've been involved since, right? I got involved with Oxford house. I have an officer position with Oxford house, right? And I never thought that it would be fun getting clean and living sober, right? But the blessings that come with it, I heard somebody talk about it, right? I've been to Florida for conventions, right? I've been to D.C. where there was 60,000 clean. I want to say most of them were probably clean, right? I can't confirm or deny that, but they said there was 60,000 people there, right, from all over the world, right? That was like such an amazing experience. I just couldn't believe it. I met people from Afghanistan, from China, Japan. It was just amazing. I think Miguel was there somewhere. Yeah. It's just amazing. And one of the main blessings for me today is that when I tell my kids that I'm going to show up today and I'll be there to pick you up, they know that their dad's going to be there today, right? And it's cool, man, because like before I got clean, I didn't see my kids for years, right? I thought my best thinking then was just really kill yourself, hurt them one more time, and let it be done with, right? But I know what them phone calls are like, right? I've got them several times, I still remember to this day, the last time I seen my mother was I told her I love her and goodbye, right? At the time, I didn't know what an addict was. Even though I was in addiction at the time, my mother came to me in her time of need and needed help, needed a place to stay, and I told her no, right? The guy she went and stayed with that night killed her that night, right? So that was something that I felt that was my fault, being my mom's only son and wasn't there for her, right? That was my excuse. That was my crutch. Right? All these things that happened to me, I always used to blame God. Why is God letting all this happen to me and my family? But doing some work and surrendering, I realized it didn't happen to me. It was happening for me. I may not realize why it's happening to me. I may never know. I had to change my perception on it. So what I see now is I'm here to share my story. Anytime I get the opportunity to go speak, I say yes. Right? When Aquila called and asked me, they were like, hey, can you speak? I said, yeah. They were like, well, hold on, it's this date. And I was like, damn, I got to work. I got my kids. I made arrangements. I didn't get my son this weekend so I could be here. Right? Because it's all fun and games, but when it comes down to it, this is life or death. It's very simple. Every time I go into somewhere and I speak or I share, and I talk to the people, and they're like, well, my kids and this, and I was like, well, listen, here's the real part of it. Do you want to live or you want to die? That's it. That's all it comes down to. Yeah, you can use your kids and, all that for motivation, absolutely. But it's just so sad, man, that how people let me just say this. I don't think it's the drug or not doing a 12-step program that kills us, right? I think it's the decision not to do the basics of what kept us clean in the first place, right? Because they don't tell you to get a sponsor in a home group and do steps and get in service just to, right? Just to stop using. It's the decision to stop doing them basic things that kept you alive, that saved your life, that you stopped doing, that kills you. And it's sad, man, because one of the many funerals that I've been to since I've been clean, a good friend, was seeing his 4 children up there reading letters, talking about how much they loved their dad, how their dad was so funny, he was always there. That killed me, right? And that's the thing. That's the selfish decision that we're doing. Because for me, I'll keep it on self. There's 2 parts to my addiction. Drugs, easy part was to stop. The second is the mental part. That's why we need to put the work in, right? And it's always not just the newcomer or somebody that's got some time that's hurting here, right? It could be the person with several years. So, I'm just extremely grateful and passionate about recovery as a whole. Right? I tell people I don't care if you do NA, AA, SA, any. Right? You need to work on self. Because that, for me, that was the main thing I was running from was sitting with self. Never wanted to sit with self. That's why I didn't want to feel. But it's just such a blessing to be able to have the foundation that I've built in all aspects of my life, that today, it don't matter what happened. Car breakdown, so what? Lose the job, so what? Get kicked out of the Oxford House for no reason, so what? Most of the people that know me know I'm just grateful to be alive today. The first thing I say when I wake up, thank you, God. I don't care what happens today. It don't matter. Because ain't none of us supposed to be here. None of us. We're grateful to be here. And to not be grateful that you're alive sitting here in this meeting right now, or this speaker jam, yeah, you need to think about it, right? So I know it's late. We've run a little past time, man. I just want to say how thankful I am here for Earl, my Aunt Dreama. My sister Sam is here in the meeting tonight, clean and sober, right? My nephew, and everybody else that's in here, right? And listen, and I'll end with this. If nobody told you that they love you today and you're worth it, I absolutely love you. God loves you when you're worth it. Thanks for letting me share.
You bought that shirt today. Stop fronting. Hey, I love you guys, man. It's always over too quick. We do 6 of these a year. If you're unfamiliar, you can go on our YouTube channel. You can check it out. These shares get cataloged thanks to technology. And when we can't get a speaker like Miguel, you're in high demand, Miguel. When we can't get a speaker that's charismatic, or Matt, right, we have you cataloged, right? So even if you're unaware, the message will be carried, 5th tradition style, to those who need it, okay? So closing comments, spoiler alert, I didn't ask to be in recovery. I didn't ask for what I'm doing today. And what we do to try to unify forces, there's a lot of spiritual forces in heavenly realms that don't want people unified. God is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. It's a spiritual program of action, recovery is. And I don't know about you, but when Jimmy shared that about coming off methadone being a blessing, you know, if you take a seed, right? A seed is completely dead, what Jimmy said, right? And you got to plant it in a dark place, right? And when you plant that seed in a dark place, it doesn't really want to be there. You know what I'm saying? But when you add some water to that, some love, some hugs, some encouragement, some step work, and it's in that environment, that seed starts to come alive. And I bet you if you x-rayed a seed when it's going through it, everybody shared about it, right? It sucks. But when that thing starts growing, boy, it forgets all about that pain, and it keeps on growing, right? Did you ever notice that when you grow a little bit, it takes about 7 or 8 plants around you to say, man, you're growing? Because if you're just looking at yourself, you're like, man, I suck. I'm really struggling. You know what I mean? But when we're together, we notice the growth in each other, right? So I would encourage you, if you're new to recovery, get in the environments. And this is what I would say to the treatment centers in the state. Encourage the fellowships of recovery to come into the facility and allow God to do what he does. Don't get in the God seat. You can't do that job. Read how it works in any fellowship. You suck at being God. And motives are easy to see by spiritual people. Just because we don't judge you and we still serve and we still love you and we're still praying for you, don't mean that we ain't aware of what's going on out here. You know, you're not going to pull the wool over the eyes of recovering people. And if you're in recovery and you're drawn into that, right, and you're buying the lie again, read your literature, pray, talk to people that serve. Listen, we can disagree and still have conversations, right? I had a talk with a brother I shared with my wife before we close in prayer. He called me. I had a conversation with somebody 3 years ago in a nonprofit. This guy wanted to get off maintenance, right? Goes to the treatment facility. I'm not going to name the treatment facility. He gets put on 18 drugs. Gets out. He's case managed. And he calls me. I don't call him, Miguel. He calls me. And he goes, yo, I'm thinking I'm going to go back to the treatment center and get off these drugs. And I said, amen, bro, do that. This brother's clean as today. So he goes back to the recovery house, and case management tells him, you got a desire to stop. Why? You don't have to get off. Who told you that? Guess what he said? Zach told me I should go get off all these drugs, right? I bag up because the recovery literature says the same thing. But I didn't tell him. He had a moment with God, and God told him, and I agreed with God in the spirit. And these people called me on the phone 3 years ago, Miguel, and they said, one of them was on the other line listening in, and the girl told me, we disagree. We have a different approach. And this was a prayer I said to God, because God is omnipresent. Jim, he's everywhere all the time. And the reason that we're attacked generationally is because the enemy of our faith, the liar, the deceiver, he knows how special we are generationally. So if I lost a lot of people, or I'm generationally cursed, I'm really, really special, right? And I'm agreeing with the spirit, right? And I told the enemy on the other line of the phone, because that wasn't a person speaking, I mean, that was the devil himself. And I said, yo, we need to have this conversation publicly and let the people decide. And they said, no, 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 and hung up on me, right? So look, 3 years later, right? Here we are, and there's treatment centers in the room. There's people in recovery that work in treatment carrying the message of recovery, loud and clear, unified. Unified. My God is unstoppable and undefeated. And listen, stop saying God, stop saying Zach said and start saying God said. Stop saying Zach said and saying recovery says. Because when we stand on the truth, nothing can stop us. And listen, if you're in a treatment center and you work in the field, we love you. If you're a doctor, we love you. Read the basic text, read the big book. I'll buy you a copy. Get to know recovery. Because the human frailty will always try the easier, softer way, and that's necessary. I've been on methadone. I got clean in Gander Hill when they didn't give you nothing. There wasn't no road to treatment. There was, yo, you're going to get off that. 28 days, Jimmy, didn't sleep, not a wink. I was hallucinating. God put me in a cell with guys I knew from the street, and when I left the pod, there was a race riot. You know what I mean? It was bad, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was court mandated. If I wasn't court mandated, my disease would have killed me. It was either like do this or go back to prison, and I said, I'll do this, and I got free, you know? They'd be like, you're a hypocrite, Zach. You were on maintenance. I said, yeah, but I'm not on maintenance now. I'm in recovery. You know, why would I want to maintain a level of brokenness when recovery guarantees me freedom? And why are we ostracized as people in recovery by advocating for recovery? How am I stigmatizing someone when I tell them freedom is available? Think about that. Think about that if you're so educated and we got such this high level of treatment. When the basic text said, common sense. I suffer from something that's chronic, progressive, and fatal. It's common sense tells me I can't return to the source of my allergy and get a different result. That's in Who's an Addict. Man, that's written by recovering addicts for recovering addicts. It says there's a way to treat your disease. You know what it says, Miguel? It says, first of all, I had to stop focusing on how I got here and focus on recovery. And then it says I had to admit that I was an addict, not substance use disorder. You can name it whatever you want. I'm an addict in recovery, grateful recovering addict. And I got to stop using. Man, listen, that's my prayer for the state. Join me in prayer on that. That the truth can be carried and we can have difficult conversations, you know? Because I don't know about y'all, I get tired, man. I get tired of people telling me I'm wrong for living right, you know? And I fall short, believe me. But I am praying for all of them. Keep me in prayer. So we got a tradition. So if you guys have served with the facility, come up on stage. If you've served with the Firm Foundation or you serve in the fellowship and you feel like you don't have to break your anonymity, but we would like you to join us on stage as we close in prayer. A family that prays together stays together. It's all right if you don't want to come up. It's going to hit you anyway. Father God, we honor you, we praise you, we thank you. You're the Most High God, that you provide a way out of this world, that we can have heaven on earth, Father God, that you don't guarantee us freedom from pain or struggles or adversaries or attacks, but you promise us in Matthew 7 that when we build our house on the rock, when the storms come, when the attacks come, that we won't fall, that you will hold us up as long as we're here to glorify you and do your work well. We're asking to heal every heart in the room, to do a work in Delaware, Father God, that the only thing we could say is that was God, that tonight was of you and for you and by you, that these things seemed impossible 3 years ago. They seemed doubly impossible even a month ago when you gave us the idea for this fellowship, this meeting, this time to honor you and hear from the miracle's mouth, Father God, that you would continue to save many, heal many, and send them out to do your work. Keep us safe and protected in our travels. Open up doors in institutions. Most of all, open up doors in hearts and minds. Make changes where we can't see so everyone can see you. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
It's underway.
I think the light was getting to me.
You need your paper?
Yes, sir. Please and thank you.
You got a pen?
Yes, I do. That was amazing, man. I love coming to these things.
It's good, right?
Yeah, man. Haley, man.
Is that piano hooked up?
Piano?
Yeah, is the microphone hooked up?
Go try it.
I'm hugging today.
I thank you for